Good evening, everybody. Welcome to October 11th City Council meeting. We'll all stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take roll call.
Councilman Gary Donovan.
Councilman Gary Donovan, Councilman at Large, present.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor is absent. Councilman Ronald Quagliani.
Ron Quagliani, Council at Large, present.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky, present.
Councilwoman Melly Garthwaite.
Councilwoman Millie Garthwaite, second district, present.
Councilwoman Sarah Akbarali is on her way. Councilman Mitchell Galagnano is absent. Councilwoman Robin Watt Hamilton.
Councilwoman Robin Watt Hamilton, 5th district, present.
Councilwoman Catherine Tucker is absent. Councilman Victor Boris.
Councilman Victor Boris, 8th District, present.
Councilman Robert Bruno.
Councilman Robert Bruno, 9th District, present.
Councilman Stephen Johnstone is absent, and Chairman Peter Massaro.
And Chairman Peter Massaro, President, 6th District Council Member. Before we start public session, I would like to have a moment of silence for a city employee who lost his life in a tragic accident Friday night. And he was one outstanding public works worker, and he was the nicest guy I ever met since I've been a councilman. And I'm very sorry to say that Mr. Daniel McCullough left us this world, and I would like a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, we'll start with public session. Anybody would like to come up and address the council? Mrs. Weinstein.
Thank you. Paige Weinstein, 20 Platt Avenue. In the August 22nd meeting, this council was asked to consider the sale, lease, or rent of 25 Herman Street in West Haven. The August 22nd meeting was the council meeting that went till 2:55 a.m., and during the early morning hours of August 23rd, the council approved a hearing for September 12th at 6:50 p.m. As there are over 300 pages in the agenda, I missed the initial introduction of the potential sale, lease, and rent of that property. In the September 12th agenda, my husband and I saw the notice of hearing and properly attended and stated our interest in that property. Earlier on the 12th, we contacted Attorney Tiernan's office via phone to inquire about the property and did not receive a call back. I spoke face-to-face with Attorney Tiernan prior to the hearing, and after being told that there were environmental issues, I asked him to provide me with whatever he had. Nothing ever came of that conversation. On September 27th, my husband and I provided in writing to Attorney Tiernan, Councilman Donovan, and all council members our formal request to purchase 25 Herman Street. I contacted Councilwoman O'Connor, who is a member of the Land Committee, via phone, asked for information about the ground conditions and who does my bid go to. Nothing ever came of that conversation either. I never got a call back with the information as promised. We did, however, get a written response to our formal proposal to purchase 25 Herman Street from Attorney Tiernan, which I provided to all council members tonight. I would like to read for the record. First, the council is likely to place a deed restriction that only a single-family home be built there, as they have in the past. Although zoning would allow for it, the building faces single-family homes on Lee Street and abuts a single-family home on Lee Street. Second, the council is likely to provide a preference for owner-occupied housing. Third, the council is likely to provide a preference for abutting landowners to purchase the site as they have in the past. All of this is viewed to help a stable neighborhood. With all that in mind, please feel free to submit a sealed bid if you choose. Obviously, the cleaning of soil will be required by the buyer, and that should be factored in, and you should have alternative bids, 1 family versus 2, based on anticipated restrictions. Accepted bids by the council over $50,000 will be reviewed by MARB. I would like to mention that the rear neighbor for this property is a multifamily house. The property on the other side of the street are condos. So it is not only a single-family neighborhood. After receiving this email, I would like a statement from the council and specifically from the Land Commission as to whether the first, second, and third conditions that Attorney Tiernan advised me will be the conditions in which you accept or reject all bids received. As the Council Rule 25D states, the Council, through the Standing Committee previously assigned the matter, shall review all bids and received and have sole authority to accept and reject any and all bids. I personally request that the chair allow Councilman Donovan to provide that statement as to whether those will be the conditions, 1, 2, and 3. Hopefully, the discretion of this council is not based on personal and political preferences, but on policy and procedures that can be trusted to be applied across the board. And tonight's agendas packet is the legal notice of the intent to consider the sale or lease of 25 Herman. Your Council Rule 25C states that the legal notice must be published, must describe the property for public sale, and designate a time and place for the opening of sealed bids thereof. That legal notice is not attached to your packet based on the agenda packet I downloaded from the city website. If you are opening the sealed bids tonight, I personally request the chair allow Councilman Donovan to provide the date and publication for such action. If you are not opening the bids tonight, I request the environmental information on the property as well as any additional information that the city is privy to or I should know prior to submitting a sealed bid. My husband and I have submitted our resume and ethics forms to sit on any commission that can best help the city. We have offered to take part in a flag program along Captain Thomas Boulevard, offering more money than UNH. We have tried to purchase city-owned land that is for sale. We pay our over $50,000 a year in taxes on time. My properties are far from blight. We want to help make the city a better community, and you all are not interested. And when I say you all, I'm not talking about you all personally. My question is this anti-Semitism? Is this nepotism? Is this cronyism? Or is this just mismanagement? This council and administration will not impact my intentions to investigate and pursue opportunities to provide fair and affordable housing for those either in our employment or in our family, quote unquote. You only impact my intention to further invest in West Haven. Since Attorney Tiernan's email and the lack of return phone call from Councilwoman O'Connor, I have begun discussions for a property in New Haven. Our business is located on the New Haven line, and New Haven would be thrilled to have our support as property owners, investors, as well as supporters of promotions in that city. In New Haven, we have sponsored community unity programs, Puerto Rican Day festivals, parades, New Haven Police Department golf outings, and many more. West Haven is apparently not interested in us. Last meeting, I asked the chair to please provide transparency and state where the council rules or Robert's Rules of Order allow him to stipulate that the public can speak for 3 minutes each. As it has not been provided, in the City Council Rule 10 states, public informational sessions shall be held prior to the regular meeting and continuing until such time as the chair is satisfied that ample opportunity for all wishing to address the council has been provided, or until continuation of the session would compromise the reasonable conduct of the regular meeting. My attorney has reviewed this council's rules, and in his interpretation, limiting every meeting's public comment to 3 minutes per person, not based on public attendance, not based on determining if not limiting would compromise the regular meeting, that is a strict violation of the council rules and the public's constitutional rights. I recommend that either the council makes a motion and a roll call vote to limit all public speaking to 3 minutes, or make a motion and vote to provide a sign-up sheet prior to the public session beginning, which would allow the chair to determine the needs of the citizens attending and if that public session would compromise the regular meeting. If this is not explained or addressed, unfortunately, this council and specifically the chairman may face legal action. All of this can be easily avoided. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the extra time.
You're welcome.
And Congressman, and I understand I can't address, I would love to hear back from the Land Commission.
Anybody else like that? Steve?
Steve Green, 110 Jesse Drive. I haven't been here in a while because I was watching the meetings live until that time that you went until 2 o'clock in the morning. You got that nice large bill. And now, because of that, it's filmed now and it'll be shown on Wednesday. Anyways, I don't think that's right. What you guys need to do is stop all meetings by 12 o'clock at night and put them on for another day. So if it starts at 7, it should stop by 12 o'clock at night. But anyways, the next thing, I'm also do not like the 3-minute rule. That is uncalled for. It should be able to at least talk 15 minutes without getting cut off. And the other thing, today I was at the new 7-Eleven store, which never opened up on Sawmill Road. They are doing training right now, and they said they'd be open in a couple of weeks by the end of October. They've been held up by different things, they said, and it should have opened in March. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else like to come up and address the council? Would anybody else like to come up and address the council? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Samantha Violanti. I live at 9 Highview Avenue. I live on a street that is bordered on one side by a private right-of-way, and this right-of-way is not maintained by the city. Every homeowner on that right-of-way is responsible for maintenance of it within their property line. This includes keeping the right-of-way clear of debris, maintaining your yard or overgrowth, and plowing to maintain clear access. The city does not plow this portion of our road. There are 14 homes that abut this right-of-way, which also use the right-of-way for parking. Every homeowner bears responsibility for the upkeep regardless of whether they're parking on the right-of-way or not. It is also the only emergency way for vehicles. It's also the only way for emergency vehicles to safely access the homes that are on the Forest Road side. For most of my life, the homeowners who live there understood these rules, but if time has passed and we have new homeowners and absentee landlords, upkeep of this right-of-way has fallen off. It has been left up to myself and my elderly neighbor, who is the widow of a West Haven fireman with a handicapped son, to maintain this right-of-way. We have dealt with it, still are dealing with abandoned and unregistered cars, trash, and most importantly, we are the only ones paying for plowing in order to maintain emergency access in the winter. Do you know how much it costs to plow a private city street in the winter? At least $300. We haven't been able to find anybody to do it for under that. I'm a single mother with 2 kids. She is a widow living on a fireman's pension. Why should we be the only ones responsible for this cost? Every time it snows over 3 inches, the road must be plowed to maintain access. We have tried to let residents know about their responsibility. We have asked for everyone to help to pitch in for plowing costs, but nobody does. We have explained our issue to Councilman Massaro, who had the councilwoman at large, Colleen O'Connor, assist the last time we asked. The only thing that she was able to do was to confirm that the city is not responsible for plowing, and that was really it. There's no help that we can get from anybody. We're asking that the city take responsibility to tell each homeowner that lives on that property line what their responsibility is, and that includes maintaining the roadway and plowing it when there's snow. And if not, I'm asking the city to enforce blight fines. If you have to consult the attorney, that would maybe be an idea. I don't know why this is still a right-of-way. Maybe you can absorb it. Maybe this could be reevaluated. But it's really become an issue, and we really need help.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, for your information, I was involved in that, and I had the cars to be towed out of there.
There was, still one car, but yes.
Yeah, when I had the tow company go up there, the lady that owns that still lives there, and she would not allow us to take that vehicle out of there, which was abandoned there for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And we can't touch it because it's private property. And the other car that was there, the person disappeared, moved out, and left, never came back, and that's why we were able to take that car out of there. But that is a private piece of land that all the homeowners are supposed to take care of that. It's been like that for years.
Right.
And I've tried many times to get even the shrub cut short, and Mr. Esposito helped me out one time to cut it short, to clean it up a little bit, but it's up to the homeowners to handle it.
Well, that I understand, but can't the city send them a letter that tells them what their responsibilities are and enforce it?
I'll have to
not
ask the
me
attorney.
tell them.
I
They're
have
not
to
gonna
ask the
give me
attorney, I
money.
don't think so, because we don't own that. That was supposed to be in an organization amongst the homeowners there to handle that.
There is no organization.
Maybe somebody should try to start a new one, see what you can do.
I think you're missing the point. I mean, nobody's gonna listen to me. I don't have anything to do with the city. I can't enforce anything. We're asking for the city to step in and tell them what their responsibilities are and to enforce it. And when it snows, I'm only gonna shovel 10 inches on my right of way, and I'm gonna call blight office on 14 homes. So you'll have to deal with that.
What we'll do, we'll try to send a letter to the people and see if we can do something for you.
That would be really great. Thank
All
you.
right. Anybody else like to come up and address the council? Yes, ma'am. We gotta give them their addresses.
Good evening. I'm Marilyn Wilkes. I live at 250 Ocean Avenue. I'm going to basically read the letter that was given to Chair Massaro regarding the shoreline easement. So on behalf of the Land Trust of West Haven Incorporated, I have enclosed for your information a copy of the letter sent to the Mayor of West Haven on September 2nd, 2022. Mayor Rossi did not respond to the letter by the required October 2nd deadline, nor has she yet to respond. West Haven is now in default under the Conservation Easement Agreement. The letter sets forth the various ways in which West Haven is in breach of the agreement, among which are the proposed relocation of the pathway easement in order to accommodate the brewery plans. The proposal before you on tonight's agenda is essentially meaningless because the approval of variances by the ZBA is already under appeal by the Land Trust and others. A successful appeal makes this request moot, as there will be no brewery to require relocation of the pathway easement. So, my suggestion is that you reject the request. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to come up and address the council? Would anybody else like to come up and address the council? Third and final time, anybody else? Yes.
Sylvana Pasella, 281 Highland Ave. I have new tennis courts down at the bottom of my street, the high school, the new high school ones. And I was out walking yesterday. It was really, really nice out. And around 4:30 in the afternoon, they're all locked. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. It's still plenty of light, beautiful day. No access to tennis courts, no access to the basketball courts. People are walking and using the track, but can't play tennis and you can't play basketball. So that doesn't make any sense to me. And I noticed a lot, even on Saturdays, they're closed early. I've seen kids try to get in and notice that it's locked. The whole purpose of having them, you know, refurbished and having them built is for kids to be able to play and get outside. And when they do, they have to go find another place, you know, to play. I know people said vandalism and stuff, but it's, if they're not vandalizing the field or the track, you know, I mean, it defeats the purpose of, you know, them being there. So if somebody could look into that, I would appreciate it. The second thing is, I appreciate the clarification on the bottle and cans, the bottle and can situation at the animal shelter. Now that I know that it's not a city thing, even though the bottles and cans are collected on a municipal property, and the church gives out of the goodness of their heart to the shelter, even though the shelter at times still is asking the public for donations and such. I still think that there's something going on there, and I know it's thousands of dollars, and I think if the bottle and cans are actually being dropped there for the vertical church, then you should probably move it away from the shelter. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to get up and address the council? Would anybody else like to come up and address the council?
Good evening, fellow councilmen. My name is David Riccio, 56 York Street. I just make a note that I noticed before we began this public information session that Chairman did not stipulate a time limit on this, so hopefully that's a sign that you're reconsidering a time limit on such an important part of this meeting is the opportunity for your constituents to speak. So what I'm going to say is what previously has been going on regarding the 3-minute time limit. George Washington once said, if the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent, we may be led like sheep to slaughter. Freedom of expression or speech is a fundamental right and the foundation which democracy is built. Any restriction of freedom of speech is a restriction upon democracy. Restriction of speech is censorship. That is what is happening when you are limiting the right of a constituent's speech at this podium. It is an infringement of a person's right to completely say what he or she would like. It is abominable that the thought of this would come from people who represent thousands within your own districts and your own city. I have had the honor through my adult life to sit and serve in the exact seats in which you do now. I serve with 3 council members on this dais. I remember those who I served with on this council as being conscientious, sincere, and always feeling they were serving their constituents with fairness and righteousness. Unfortunately, as the city continues to fail, so do our elected officials in decisions like this. Now, I've read Council Rule 10, and I too brought it to the attention of an attorney. And he says it's very vague on what is ample time. What is ample time on freedom of speech? What is ample time on freedom of protest? What is ample time of freedom of assembly? That's like saying if people want to protest or assemble, we say, okay, you got a certain amount of time, now you got to go. Is that fair? Of course that's not fair. So if you're saying freedom of speech, we're going to put a time limit on that. It would be hypocritical to say we could put a time limit on one thing and we don't put a time limit on another thing. So what I'm basically trying to plead to all of you is that I've been through city councils where we've had, like maybe what the people are saying, they might bang on the administration on what they're doing, but you know what? You're hearing the complaints and praises, as you know, you do hear both, of your constituents. And you are elected to serve and to hear the complaints of your constituents and residents within the city. So hopefully, by not hearing that you put a 3-minute, you sat down with some of your, and I hope that this was a decision that you all sat down and made as a group if you thought it was in the best interest. But I just brought up a point that to restrict freedom of speech, think of the rights the human rights that an individual has. You just can't pick and choose. We wouldn't want to limit some of them, but you're limiting one of the most precious freedoms that any constituent, that any human being has. So hopefully, Mr. Chairman, by not hearing that you had a limitation tonight, that you did sit down, hopefully we shouldn't be discussing taking the rights from any individual. This is a city council. We all should be getting together. Your residents should say what they feel is on their mind. If it takes over 3 minutes, and so what? You know what? This is what we were elected to do. And I know the vast majority here are very sincere, care about what the residents say, and what their constituents say. And I do hope that the limitation of this most important part of our meeting is lifted. So I thank you for the opportunity to address all of you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Anyone else like to come up and address the council? Would anybody else like to come up and address the council? Third and final time, would anybody else like to come in here? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Yvette Patterson, 66 Chestnut Street. I just came up because I've been reading about the ethics forms, and it just blows my mind that there are still city employees who have not signed an ethics form, and that they cannot be made to sign the form. In my opinion, they should not have a job. There shouldn't be a question on whether you signed the ethics form or not. And when I read the mayor's response that they were vague in what they asked for, I know I've been hearing about the ethics form for all summer. They've been asking for it all summer. And to me, if you don't sign the ethics forms, that means you are doing something wrong. So you don't want to put yourself in jeopardy of being perjury or whatever. That would be the only reason not to sign an ethics form. So I don't know what your purview, what you can do, but I would hope that you can do something about getting whoever hasn't signed it, sign it, or they'll be without a job. You know, everybody needs a job, yes, but if you can't sign an ethics form, you don't deserve to be a city employee. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Margaret.
Margaret A. Krisminski, 1 Robarts Street in Allentown. I was at an Allentown's Fire Commissioners meeting when Robin Hamilton here was also at that meeting. And she brought the ethics thing to the fire commissioners, and it was in a beautiful assembly. So if she brought it to the fire commissioners in Allentown to hand out to them, why is it the people in this building, City Hall, have a problem with filling out their ethics form? I can't get over it. It blows my mind. Where I worked, I got a code of conduct and a code of ethics that I had to deal with. And if I had a problem, I wasn't going to be working there anymore. What is it with these people? They got away with it for so long that they felt that they didn't have to do it. Like that woman before me said, you shouldn't have a job. They got away with so much, a lot of the people that have been working here for so long, you know what? They felt they didn't have it to do it. That's not right. Thank you.
Anyone else like to get up and address the council? Yes.
1 second, please.
There's a hat there, too.
This doesn't belong to anybody, right? Hi, my name's Rich Hebert. Live at 166 Bloom Street. I have to echo what these people have been talking about. When I went to high school, we learned about ethics. That was, sort of basic Americana. You have an ethics, that means you have a responsibility to do things correctly. It doesn't seem to be a problem for this city. You folks had to sign it. How do you feel about people getting away with not signing it? I think their names should be disclosed, made public, so that we can understand what's going on. If they have a legitimate reason, I'd like to hear it. That's probably the biggest problem that this city has is communication. I know that many people here have called on a variety of issues to the people that are supposed to be responsible for those problems, and nobody gets an answer. What is that? The mayor always says, send me a notice. People send their notices. Does anybody get a reply? That's the question. People try to present problems here, hopefully that somebody will do something or coordinate something and give something back to the citizens here. I was insulted when the mayor said, those people don't represent us, they'll show up for these meetings. I'm sorry. All these people come in here, take time out of their lives to try to present something to you folks. The mayor's not here. She seems to have other responsibilities. It's only for the photo ops, seems to be when she shows up. You know what's going on down at the Haven? Still haven't seen the building go down yet. It's been quite a while since that was supposed to have been affected. We keep getting answers that say, oh yeah, it'll be done next week. And weeks go by, months go by, and nothing is ever done. Does anybody have any responsibility for any of that? And now we have the new brewery coming down here. It's an encroachment on our property where we walk. A lot of folks here walk on that spot, that a business is going to come in and encroach on that area. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. That was a property to be enjoyed by the citizens of West Haven. How can a business come in and encroach on something that's already been established? I don't think that's fair. And as far as the 3-minute rule, that's a joke. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just so you know, they're not gonna take that walkway away when they do the brewery. It's just gonna go make it a circle.
Yeah, but right now it's a straight path. And now you're
It's
gonna
just-
go about 20 feet out.
Not even 20 feet.
Pardon me?
It's not even gonna be 20 feet.
How big is it?
I think it's gonna only go out about,
Do you have an overhead
10
view
feet.
that you can show us?
they were here when they showed it. Here when they showed it, and they were gonna make it a circle.
I know what it looks like. I have a copy at home. And it's a big encroachment. You're taking away the public established path to provide a patio for the new business. Is that correct? In your mind?
Thank you. Anyone else like to get up and address the council? Would anybody else like to get up and address the council? Third and final time, anybody else gonna do? Public session is closed. And the clerk will read, we
We
will
got the-
do meetings in session at 7:35. And we're gonna approve the minutes for September 26th. I have a
Motion made by Bruno. Seconded by Hamilton.
Any discussion? Any abs-
I have discussion. I was supposed to abstain from both, the 20th and I believe it was September 12th, both of those meetings.
You only abstained for one.
Yes.
I don't know if we could actually correct a vote,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
I think we can. I gotta ask Lee about it.
I don't think you can.
I think there have to be a motion to reconsider,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. I think we did that once last term.
We sure did.
Yeah.
Do we have a
I
motion?
make a motion to
Yes.
open back up the vote on the September 12th.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I just be a little bit more clear? Which communication was it, honey?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
September 12th, is it?
September 12th, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes, September 12th. Looks like I did abstain from September 20th, but it doesn't look like I'm on this either for the approval of minutes.
Just for the minutes approval.
But this is, we're doing the minutes approval for the 26th. She's talking about the 12th.
And the,
Which-
yeah, and the
Which I
20th.
don't have in front of me, the
Okay.
12th.
Yeah.
So that's why I would need to know the communication. If you do have it in front of you?
It's not the communication, it's the voting on the minutes, correct?
Right.
It's
Yes.
just the
Oh,
voting
voting
on
on
the
the
minutes
minutes.
for
Oh.
those meetings.
Okay, so reconsider the September 12th
And 20th.
and 20th?
Yep.
Or
Mhm.
26th?
The 20th.
20th?
I was there on the 26th.
Okay. I'm sorry, I
No, no,
must have
not me.
misunderstood
Not at
you.
all.
So you were abstaining on both?
Yes, please.
Okay, and we have a second on that motion to reconsider? Yes. Donovan?
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 15 abstentions.
gotcha. Sorry about that.
All in favor for the September 26th meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 15 abstentions. Okay, motion passes. Clerk will read the communications.
Okay, we have communication A from the tax collector regarding overpayment refunds for September 2022, which will be filed with tonight's minutes. And we have communication B from Abdul Qadir, the city engineer, regarding a request to change the existing easements on city-owned property at 6 Rock Street as per the attached map, being assigned to the Public Lands Committee, Chairman Donovan. And that concludes our communications for this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Good. And we'll start with communication B. Mr. Donovan?
Chairman, the time now is 7:36. The Committee on Public Lands is in session. Members present are Councilman Quagliani, Councilwoman Hamilton, Councilman Bruno, myself acting as chair. We have before us tonight communication B from Abdul Qadir, city engineer, regarding a request to change the existing easements on the city-owned property at 6 Rock Street as per the attached map to be given to the planning and zoning. I make a motion to bring this out favorably. Do I have a second?
Well, we need the motion first. Okay.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Discussion.
Correct. Now we have discussion. Any discussion?
Does anybody here explain what it is?
Yeah, could anybody, Lee or anybody,
Lee was supposed to be here.
I'd like to,
Lee was supposed to be here. He has it. Oh, he's here?
He is here.
And no,
We skipped over finance committee.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Got confused. Totally confused. I was supposed to be on vacation.
Do you want me to move on to communication J first, or you want to wait?
we already have the, yeah.
Right,
we're-
I'm saying we'd have to take back everything, so all right.
Yeah.
All complicated, huh?
Trying to make it easier. No, that was Ken Carney.
We're waiting for you.
Thank you, Lee. Talking about this communication B and It's up for discussion in our committee right now, so I believe some of the members in the committee may have some questions or concerns or whatever. Yep, Councilman Quacken.
So I guess my question is that from what I understand, this easement was already voted on by the zoning board of appeals, so why is this in front of us and why now, I guess?
Well, normally when we actually do the easement, this is a procedure Abdul has always done. It's not really required in the statute, but because Abdul has done it in the past, I didn't want to disturb his practice. I mean, you've already approved it in your group, and yes, planning and zoning's already approved it.
So there's no action needed tonight by statute?
No, I'd come back with the actual easement language to vote on with comments from police, fire, public, building department, so on and so forth.
Is there any, update as to, are there dates picked for the appeal for, on this easement? Because has it been, there's an appeal, right? So on the easement, the structure that's going on the site, is that,
There's no appeal on the easement. The abutters, so the two abutters are the city of West Haven and the Gagliardis. So you have to give notice of the abutters the night you vote on it. They get notice that you're gonna vote on the actual easement. There's no, in the statute, there's no appeal process.
So we'll have to vote on this easement when the particular language comes to us, right? To
Right.
put it on the land records. So tonight, there's no action required? Okay, okay.
But before you did that, I thought that was Abdul's practice. I just didn't want to disturb
Yeah.
it. Because he had done it in the past when he had moved or created easements.
I just have a point of order because
Yeah.
we had we were just on this, Gary and I thought we're on the same page. So we're not referring it to planning and zoning because that's what the resolution, that the admin typed up.
Well, if you want their input, I don't know how else you get their input. If you want them to officially say, we've reviewed, we've had input from all the other sides.
Was that where they're supposed to go?
Okay.
Yeah.
So why can't you just send it to planning and zoning?
If that's what you instruct me to do, that's what I can do. I can just send them, send the chair and.
Well, you're
Yeah,
also
I'd
waiting
rather
for-
do it that way, absolutely, because
You're waiting for fire and police input also.
it's gotta go, right, which would be from the planning and zoning is where they would put it
Right.
in, right? They wouldn't be bringing that to us.
So you could, if you give me authority to do that on your behalf, that's fine. I'll make sure that happens.
Okay, so that's,
I think we should just hold it until we find out. I'm not understanding what, if they don't need our approval, then why are you here? I don't.
Because
It's been
Abdul-
past practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
right, so basically what this committee was going to do and then bring it out to the council was basically to say, yeah, go talk to planning and zoning. And
For
get the
comment.
comments from there for comment.
Not for vote or anything, just
No.
for comment.
Just for their comment.
If, for instance,
Got it.
Counselor Bruno, if you were to close a road, you absolutely have always, the council has always done this practice when they've closed a road.
So within the committee, I mean,
No, I just still don't understand, I'm sorry to be.
I'm not there yet
sorry to be
myself, sir.
difficult.
I'm
So-
trying, but I'm not there.
Help me in the process. So we back when allowed the site, right, which I thought encompassed this particular easement to now go through the ZBA and the planning and zoning process, right?
Correct.
So why are we referring this back to planning and zoning when it already went to planning and zoning and they already approved it?
So I could go forward and bring back to you the easement request based on what you just said. My city engineer has said that his past practice, which I could find in no statute, but it is his past practice, is that, for instance, closing roads, doing anything with roadways, byways, walkways, he has always, that his practice has been to ask the council first to refer it to planning and zoning for comment, and then subsequent, it comes back after you get that comment. Now, I did not think it was advisable to change for this first time that past practice, even though I could find no basis in the statute for why we would do that.
Again, I don't know why we're gonna send it to planning and zoning when planning and zoning already voted on it. So what I like.
Well, they
to
would
see-
narrow their discussion, I guess, specifically just to the easement.
Yeah, I mean, I really like, I'd really like to say that, that we're just, we're gonna table this and come back to us with the appropriate time, with the appropriate, easement language that has to go on the land record for an agenda item and discussion and vote.
I have no problem for that. I did not want to do that unilaterally based on Abdul's history.
That's where I'm at, Mr. Chair.
I would second that.
All right, so I'm gonna
so-
take back,
Yeah, so.
I would like to take back the second. Any other discussion, sorry,
Well,
in our committee?
Can I have
Okay.
just a point of order and maybe a suggestion?
Sure.
Well, if we're looking for a comment from planning and zoning, can't they just send us what they, like an official?
I will put together
official-
what they did, and I'll review the tape of what they did, and just come back with the easement change language, and
Yeah. I
No,
remember
I'm
the
For vote
process,
at
the
your
way
next
they
meeting.
used to
Satisfied
do
with that,
it.
'cause like our conversation, I was confused to begin with it, but, all right, so I need, who second it, the
So,
motion.
we have, Quagliani second, and Hamilton made the motion.
Yeah, I'll take back the second.
Okay, so with that, communication B is going to be held. And you're going to bring it to planning and zoning about the comment.
Well, I'm
You're
gonna get
sending
comment from
it-
planning and zoning.
Correct.
Um,
And sending it back.
But
to
I
us.
would ask that through the chair to the chair, that you schedule at this meeting for your next meeting, public hearing before your meeting on the easement moving at 6 Rock Street for the boardwalk.
Are we gonna get that information? We'll get the information by then.
Yeah, I'm gonna present it for a vote at your next meeting. But you should have a public hearing on the moving of the easement at your
So-
next meeting before you vote.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Lee, maybe between now and then, you could kind of cite us a policy or a statute that says that we're required to hear about changing an easement. In my mind, I think this already happened, right, with planning and zoning. It seems like that's a planning and zoning responsibility as opposed to a city council responsibility. And I just want some clarity, because I don't wanna cross their lines.
No, I'll give you that. The statute's clear that it's a legislative body that would change walkways, byways, streets. And this is definitely a walkway. So I interpret that statute as, the city council has that authority. And so,
I
like I
think that'd be
said,
helpful, if you could kind
Yeah.
of show us that and tell us what our action item is.
yeah, no, I'll put that in, my request and why my request is that way.
Thank you.
So we're gonna hold off on the public session as well, or do we still?
No, I mean, if it's gonna be on the agenda
It'll
for
be
the
on
next
the
meeting,
agenda,
then it'll
so-
be a
all right.
public hearing.
So then,
You'd have to request it now.
yeah, I'm gonna request a public hearing for, help me out with October 27th, no,
Oh, I don't know.
25th. 24th, today's a Tuesday, 24th, I believe. Right,
It'll be the 24th.
October 24th
Mhm.
at 6:50.
Yes.
So you would do that under committee reports.
Okay. I think that, and that's it. We are, the time is now 7:49, and the Committee on Public Lands is now closed. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That is incorrect. I have Communication G, from August 26th, 2022 agenda, about the potential sale, lease, or transfer of 25 Herman Street. We are also holding that because we haven't gotten all the information on it yet. So we're going to hold that again as well.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are we in committee?
Yeah.
So, I guess in order to move 25 Herman Street along, we need to put it out to bid, right? I mean, that would be our normal.
I was gonna ask Lee that too,
Yeah.
but Chairman Quagley, I would like to get more.
Could we open it up?
Right, like we're discussing it. It's-
Yeah, could we
held
could we
it.
motion to do something?
Make a
Could we make a motion to do something?
Motion for discussion.
Right, I'll make,
Okay,
I'd like
so
to make
that
a
was,
motion for discussion
that
on
was
this
Quag,
25.
and we'll do it
Don't go
seconded
nowhere,
by
Lee.
Donovan,
Lee,
please.
don't leave.
Lee, don't leave yet. And you second it?
Oh,
You made the motion?
I
and you
have
seconded it.
Quagliani and,
Yep,
okay.
perfect. All right, discussion on this, please. Councilman Bruno?
Lee, can you, can we clarify a few things on 25 Herman Street, please? Like, is it going out to bid? Has it been put out to bid? Are we gonna rebid it? The process. We have people come before the council that are interested in this parcel, more than one party. What is the status on it? So we can just clarify where we're at.
Okay, so one party that showed an interest withdrew their interest. He was here at your last meeting.
Okay.
Another party expressed an interest, and I asked them to submit a bid, which they've explained they haven't done, and they have reasons why they haven't done it, I guess. The property pursuant to the statute was advertised, and a sign was posted as to who to contact. I can do further advertisements, if you would like, if you think that that would get more interest in the parcel, and that's something the council desires.
At this.
Again, that's
at
not
this point,
legally
I would-
required, but-
I would ask that we consider reposting this, rebidding it, and seeing where the highest bid is. In my opinion, there's, I don't know where the bid process is.
Right.
Can you help me with that?
No, I don't know where it is either, that's why I was gonna hold it, so.
Right.
Can we designate a time and a place?
All right,
for-
This is not,
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
are you all set?
I am.
Yeah, I mean, I just do it like we have typically done it, follow our rules for public-owned property. I think what Councilman Bruno is correct, let's put it out to bid, we get the bids, open up the bids in public, we see all the bids, and then we make the decision. I mean, I don't think there's any caveats. You know, I see an email here about single-family home or this or that, but I don't think we put any of those caveats on it. I think it's just a bid of the property, buyer beware.
You
and-
haven't, but you have on properties in the past. I'm just warning a potential bidder that that's a possibility.
So is it out, has it gone out to bid? Is there a bid number on this?
No. The statute says you put a legal notice in the paper, which happened, and you put a sign up on the property.
Which we
And
did.
it gives a place where you can communicate. If you want me to advertise it like in The Voice or something, I guess I can do that.
No, I
But
would,
it makes no sense to put a legal notice again, because you've already done
I
that.
would say do what we would normally do. I think the question is that it seems, it was unusual for us to get interested parties at the podium, ready to submit bids, right? So I think we want to get all the bids that you've have, for 25 Herman. But the only thing that's, I mean, there's no particular, typically, isn't there, how do you open the bids? Aren't they in public? How do you open the bids?
Well, you haven't had this process in a while, because you haven't had people who were battling for a property where the council was gonna approve a sale. There's only one other instance, and the matter was withdrawn.
At the end of the day, for me, I'd like to see all the bids, and the committee makes the determination as to who gets awarded the bid, if there are any stipulations on the property, and then recommends it to the council, and then the council votes on it. I mean, that's what I'd like to see happen.
Well then, but you're asking for something to happen, there would have to be an additional trigger, because the process on the sign and the legal notice was a little while back.
No, I'm saying, give us the bids that you have.
I don't have any. I have a letter of interest, which I said, hey, there's a letter of interest, should we pursue this piece of property? So right now I have no bids on the property.
So then how do we proceed with no bids? We need, you have to
So
open the bids.
Excuse me, advertise it again.
Well,
Put it in the
what
paper
I would
again.
recommend, since we've done the legal requirements, is that
Just
we
contact the two or
we just
three
put an
or
ad in the
four
Voice,
people.
Put
and
an
I'll
ad in the
contact the
Voice.
two interested parties.
Till 2, okay.
And then when we get the bids in, then we'll open up, the committee will open it up.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
No big
Absolutely.
deal.
It's the only way to do it.
Anybody else from the committee for discussion? Okay, great.
The council has rules.
All right.
We know the rules.
All set?
Yep, all set. Thank you.
So we're gonna take back the, right?
We're gonna take back
Alright.
now the second for the discussion. Which was who? I forgot. Who was that?
It was
I was
Bruno and Quag, Leoni.
Yeah, we just wanna have the discussion, that's all. we're
Correct.
committed.
So now we're taking those back.
Taking them back? All right.
Correct, correct.
So communication G is
Is.
going to be held
Right.
until we get the proper. I am done now. So the time is now 7:56, and your committee on public lands is now closed.
Thank you very much.
We skipped over.
Excuse me, that I made a mistake, that, the finance committee, Councilman Hosty, I'm awfully sorry.
Perfectly fine, Chairman. So the time is now 7:56.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Oh, it is, 7:56, and your Finance Committee is now in session. Those present are Councilwoman Hamilton, Councilwoman Akbarali, Councilman Quagliani, and myself acting as chair. We have Mr. Scott Jackson here, our Finance Director. Hello, Mr. Jackson, how are you?
Good evening, members of the council.
Long time no see.
Indeed, indeed. Scott Jackson, Finance Director, 355 Main Street, West Haven, Connecticut. I'm going to give a brief year-to-date budget report.
That would be great.
The primary report comes in during the second meeting after we've had a chance to reconcile it, but I wanted to give you an update as to where we stand at the end of September. We have achieved 33.5% of our budgeted revenues and 21.4% of our budgeted expenditures, either expended or encumbered. We have received 51.7% of our tax revenue. So we're doing well, and that is above last year's numbers. For this calendar year, on the expense side, keep in mind that September 30th is 25% through the year. We have expended 21.4% of budgeted, as opposed to 24.1% last year. So we're trending better on the expenditure side. We've collected 33.5% of the revenue versus 39.1% last year. However, last year we had received the pilot for colleges and hospitals prior to, so that's $8 million in the budget, which more than makes up for that percentage difference. So we are technically ahead, or we're practically ahead on revenues and expenditures. Our revenues are being driven by taxes, excellent movement on licenses and interest income. Our building permits are a little bit off, but Mr. Gladwin did indicate today that a fairly sizable project should be coming in that will bring those numbers more in line. Right now we're at about 20% of budgeted. State grants, the big state grants, ECS and pilot, have not come in. So we are looking at good liquidity moving forward into the second quarter of the year. Other items of note on the revenue side, miscellaneous income is up, driven a lot by real good returns on the parking meters and on a property sale. So that is a brief overview of where we stand as of September 30th. Happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Councilman?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Scott. So I'll just keep it real brief here tonight. Just two questions, and they're both surrounding transfers.
Yes.
So when do we expect to see year-end transfers for 21, right? And I know that we talked about no negatives in the budget without transfers, so are there transfers pending somewhere that we haven't seen yet?
There are transfers pending. I initiated a new process by which I provide each department at the end of the month their individual budget for tracking and identify some areas where they may want to review to see if there's any seasonality or if there are any large encumbrances or anything like that that if they are moving into transfer territory, better to do it sooner rather than later. So there are 6 or 7 that I can think of off the top of my head. One of the areas in which we do struggle right now is in overtime. I'm a little bit less concerned about that from a liquidity standpoint because the reason for the overtime is a lot of vacancies. So we can transfer from the wage line into the overtime line and cover it within the departments. So I think that's going to be okay. The year-end transfer, in discussions with OPM, that year-end transfer is going to have to also be voted on by MARB. So it is my expectation that we have a deadline of the 18th for the 24th meeting, that you will see transfers both 22 and 23 at that meeting.
And the transfers that you have pending, are they transfers pending for our agenda, or are they fall under the threshold for just that you are in the mayor's signature?
They're split. It's probably 80-20 internal at 355 versus council transfers.
Because the ones that come to us, I'd like to see them timely. We shouldn't get them 60 or 120 days out. We should get them, obviously the idea of a transfer is the department head identifies an issue, they submit the transfer before they go over, right, in the ideal world, and then we get it, so our decision really makes a difference. Kind of like, right, when we year-end transfer, well, the money's already spent, right, and unless we just go after the height of the department head or whatever it may be, we're limited. So I really like to get to as real time as possible.
Absolutely, and this is also a discussion that I've had with Marv as well. That it's a different practice, but it's the right practice, and I'm confident that I have the support of the council and I have the express support of Marv in making this happen as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? So when you say the vacancies are driving the overtime, I hear that a lot. Like I hear that not just from you, but historically it's kind of been. And then before they didn't say it was vacancies, it was just the workload. What is our plan of attack? What is the plan to hire new employees? Like what? Or I'm sure you don't know because you're not the personnel director, but you're the guy that's standing here, so they're putting you. I just.
Certainly, and it is.
Because overtime is not equal to payroll. That it's time and a half or double time. It's just not the same.
Right. There are different schools of thought on that. I'm of the school of thought that people can work and should work up to their maximum potential, and if that means some overtime, that's okay. Not forced burnout overtime levels. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm very concerned about, because new bodies come with a 41% benefit rate attached to them. There's some mathematical models where you say you should carry vacancies and run it through overtime if you can without a loss of productivity. So it's really a department by department basis. I will give you an example.
The police department?
No, closer to home.
Oh, that's pretty close to my home. They're like right here. I mean, their overtime is going to go out off the roof, right? Yeah. I mean, they're down to 91, 92 patrolmen, and they're supposed to have 111. So, I mean, if we're going to talk numbers, why don't we talk about the impact of what they're going through?
Absolutely, and so the hiring practices for the police department, as you know, and as certainly Councilman Fagliani knows, there is a long lead time before you can bring a body in to replace a body that has vacated. Same for the fire service. I have an assistant position where the person took a promotion to a different position. It's gonna take me 5 days to post it. However long it takes to review. If there's an internal candidate, I can probably pull it off in 2.5 weeks. If it's an external candidate and we have to do a series of interviews, then it's going to be longer. And then they're gonna have to give their 2 weeks wherever they are. And so it's probably a 4-week lead to get an assistant in, just because of the processes that are required under the collective bargaining unit agreements.
Anyone else have any questions regarding the budget? Thank you, Mr. Jackson. ARPA's next. I don't know if Ken and, oh, Ken, I'm sorry. You were sitting right there. I'm so excited you're here. You couldn't have been more in my line of sight and we miss you. I gotta get different glasses.
This is an updated project list.
Thank you.
Starting with the CARES Act financial management, we're showing $45,590.97 spent. We have several other invoices that were paid this week that will probably double, and that takes care of the attorney and the accounting firm. As everyone has heard, Marb has requested some disclosures on every motion moving forward. We have those draft disclosures ready. The plan is that when a motion is passed at the ARPA committee recommending that a vendor be awarded, everyone who is at the committee will sign an affidavit or a document saying that they have no relationship or financial gain with that particular vendor. And that's what we'll be using going forward in real time. Child development roof is being designed. That contract has been settled. We have spent some legal funds developing contracts on a custom basis for each individual designer. And I've asked the attorneys to move to a standard contract that the city can use with all their vendors. So when a vendor is awarded a contract, they will now be getting a contract from us, not utilizing their contract. And that cuts down the amount of hours of negotiation considerably. And that is just about in play. So going forward, I expect the legal fees to be less. Parks Fund, we're still in discovery mode, and we are gathering information through the 2 part-time individuals who have a checklist that they're applying to each of the pocket parks, if you will, and they'll bring that information back to the ARPA committee in the future for discussion. Food bank.
Can I make
sure.
mention about the park fund?
Sure.
Many moons ago, I had sent information to Public Works, Mark Payne, Ernie, I can't think of the last name, I won't pronounce it right. Thank you. Chamborelli, and a couple of other people in regards to parks, and I said, one of the things, and I'm not sure if you got it, I might have sent it to you, one of the things that when people think about parks, I think we talked about it in the ARPA, is that they always think about children and teens, and we never think about our older population. So I just want to make sure, because when I've heard more conversations, it's always about swings and slides, and I just think about, down at the beach or how we could have, like, I see these parks popping up. I saw it, I think I was in Houston, and I said, oh my gosh, there's all these older adults using these things at the park, like fitness, and I just hope that at the end of this, that I'm not gonna be annoyed.
I think
I think with that, you're going to hear some things in the sidewalk division that speaks to that.
Great.
What you're really talking about is access. And what we're finding is there's barriers to older people to these parks because they don't have access into the park. They have to jump over a curb. They have to walk on dirt. They have to
Well,
go
that
through
there's
mulch.
actually apparatuses at the park.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
But it
not-
starts with access, and that's.
No,
yeah.
absolutely. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I didn't want us to spend, 1 second, Councilwoman, I didn't want us to, don't have my glasses on again. I don't want us to spend $1 million and at the end of it, me say, what happened to our older adults? Thank you so much, Councilwoman.
No, I was gonna say, I think we had discussed in one of the parks, the 7th District Park, which we didn't even know was there, honestly. It's this tiny little park, it's beautiful, but something more along the lines of like a labyrinth or something like that, that it would appeal to someone other than children, probably, you know, because there are no parks like that. There are no places where you could just sit and reflect and relax and that kind of thing. So that is something that we did make a suggestion to this group about.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim.
Moving on to item 4 is the food bank. The ARPA committee has awarded with several conditions to 5 organizations. We have awarded up to those amounts. It's not a guaranteed amount. Those organizations have to each sit with our accounting firm to understand the reporting responsibilities and what their responsibilities are to propose spending the money. They have to come before the ARPA committee every 3 months, give us an update. And providing that works out well, the whole $400,000 will be spent. If it doesn't work out well, we'll be looking to spend it elsewhere.
Okay, so I'll be the first to say I don't know about the food bank money. So the awarding that the resolution reads differently than I believe the ARPA committee's interpretation. After you guys voted, the money received maybe 5 or 6 residents questioning why the ARPA committee awarded money to an agency that is not based in West Haven, and West Haven serving West Haven residents exclusively. And they reference, and then we have a letter on our desks or table in front of us from another resident, and she actually contacted me saying that, questioning how the ARPA committee bypassed the resolution to award money. And I'm kind of wondering that myself.
I don't know that we bypassed the resolution. As you know, I'm one member of the committee. I don't make those decisions. I will say this, though. One of the charges that I have heard standing at this podium many times is to go out and find the most neediest people, okay? I feel we found those people. Those are 200 households, no joke, of people or persons who cannot leave their house. Fish is the only organization that we're aware of that brings them real groceries, meat, chicken, canned foods, fresh vegetables to their house every 2 weeks in grocery bags. Now, we're concerned about that growing. Here is an affidavit from the CEO of Fish. Fish, over the last few months, got enough? Fish, over the last few months, has had to turn down residents that they serve in West Haven, New Haven, and Hampden because lack of funding. We propose a up to $75,000 grant to service West Haven residents. In their affidavit, they claim they're absolutely serving 200 current residents, and that with this funding, they can service 200 more. The impact on these residents is literally life and death. Here's a letter from a veteran who gets serviced by fish, who cannot leave his house. If fish does not deliver food, that individual does not eat. It's plain and simple. If you take $75,000 and you divide it by the 200 families that are being served by fish in West Haven, that works out to $375 per family. My guess is if I came to you and said, hey guys, council members, I found 200 homebound families that need help, can you give me $375 per family? I think you'd vote it unanimously. Now we're gonna double that. That means you have 400 families being served by $75,000, which is a total commitment of about $180 per family on a $30 million budget. I spent a lot of time at the organization. These are pictures I took.
So do you wanna know what they're what they're opposed to? So you can kinda cater your argument to what their problem is? Cause I appreciate you saying all of that. I don't think anybody is questioning what fish provides to the community. That is not what anybody is saying. So I'm gonna tell you what
Sure.
the problem, I don't know if anyone else heard, the way it was presented and what the residents that I spoke to said is that they're under the impression that we are going to be funding an automobile or transportation for them. So you're saying the 75,000 is going to go towards providing them food, but the way that this was shared and what they heard in the meeting when they were listening, because I think it was at an, they're like, listen to 1 hour and 5 minutes in, we're buying them a vehicle.
Well, so listen, you have to understand that we're interviewing 5 different organizations. A lot is said. All that matters is what the final resolution says. And that final resolution says that we will provide up to $75,000 in funding, providing they can prove it's for West Haven residents. Now, I can't tell you, and I have a legal affidavit, by the way, from their CEO saying exactly that. And I can't tell you sitting here exactly what that's gonna be. I think it's gonna be some equipment. I think it's gonna be possibly some food. But here's what we're finding out. We're finding out that these organizations all work together. We're finding out that food is not the issue. There's plenty of food. The issue is delivering the food and the infrastructure to provide the food. And that's where we have to spend the money in order for these organizations to continue doing what they're doing for West Haven residents. So no money's been dispersed. They have to prove to us how they're gonna help West Haven residents, and I'm confident that'll happen. And we receive phone calls, not from concerned residents, we receive phone calls from people who are surviving on food from fish. I gave you one letter tonight, there's many more. And those, I think, those people are the most needy people in the city because they can't leave their house. And we're talking 200 households, but some households have 2 and 3 people that can't leave their house.
With respect, I'm going to challenge what you deem to be, it's completely opinion-based. Because when you have 5 and 6-year-old children unable to communicate that on Monday morning that they may have gone the whole weekend without eating or in a situation, this is not about what you feel who are the most needy. It is about collectively feeding the most needy of the city. So please refrain from doing that because
But that's exactly what we did. You've got $100,000 with the Board of Ed. You've got money that was spent on food pantries. The only organization that's feeding people who are stuck in their home is Fish. That bucket is filled. I think the money was spread to all the organizations that apply.
We're not saying you, I am challenging your idea that you believe that Fish is feeding the most needy because they can't leave their homes. Do not decide that I don't even know how that's decided. The most needy are those who need food. It's not about homebound. It's not about children who are too afraid to say that, you know, their mom is not feeding them. I really can't even believe that you think that that's what it is. It is about us figuring out how to feed people who can't eat, Ken. And I don't know if you've ever in your life have gone without a meal, but seeing as how I have been in that situation, it is I cannot even believe you think that that's the argument. It's not. It is not the argument. The argument is ensuring that the money goes to those who are in need. It's not a battle. It is just ensuring that that is happening.
There's many definitions of people that need food, right? The money that was dispersed covers everything that we could cover with $400,000. We've covered students. We've covered homebound people. We've covered pantry people.
And I understand that.
Across the board.
My point is that the resolution said, and that is what I need to ask, and that is what we need to come to. The resolution that we voted on, that this city council voted on, said it needed to be West Haven based and West Haven exclusively. So if it is fine to just go on and do this, that's fine. But we need to recognize that people are asking those questions, and they're not gonna point their fingers at me, because everybody can sit back and say, you know, it's the councilwoman or the finance chair, let this, that, and the other thing happen. I am bringing out to everybody so we all know that we voted on a resolution and this was the wording in it, which led people to believe one thing. People are questioning it. Everybody needs to open their mouths and speak on it, because we're not going to point fingers at me and say that I did not bring this out. That is the point. And the point of the food bank is to feed everybody. It's not a fight about who needs what. Like, that is alarming to me. Councilwoman.
Yeah, I just found it a little strange that Fish does feed Hamden, and they take care of New Haven residents too.
Correct.
I heard
Yes.
you heard the meeting correctly. But even New Haven looked at them and said, here's $16,000. And I'm sure that their population that they're feeding in New Haven,
600.
How much?
600 homes.
You're right, 600 homes with $16,000, but we're gonna give them $75,000 for 200 homes.
So look
It's
at
kinda-
well, wait a minute, let's look at the total equation. How many people applied to the $1 million that New Haven put up? How many organizations?
I don't know.
145.
Okay, I don't know
We
that.
had 5 people come to the table. We went out, we solicited organizations, we asked them to come. We held interviews, we extended the deadline to try and get people to come. They didn't come. We got a total of 5 organizations. That was it.
Plus, Vertical seems to be the hub of all of them.
They all seem to be related.
Right?
Yep.
Well, it seems like Vertical supports all of them. Because it's not like Fish is doing any transportation of hot meals or anything, but there might be some food or whatever.
I didn't see a lot of collaboration between Fish and Vertical Church.
It was said though at your meeting.
I mean, when I visited Fish's facility, they, as the pictures show, they have all the paper bags lined up. They're bringing food in. They're putting the food in the paper bags, and they're delivering it to the residents every 2 weeks. I don't think there's a lot of involvement from Vertical Church on that side.
Okay. Well, they said it. I don't know
Yeah,
because
I
I don't
didn't
work
see
in
a
the
lot of that.
operation at all. But I do have a problem. I think it's steep, and I think that it does go against our resolution of saying West Haven-based organizations.
I have the resolution out now. Can you point to exactly what your concern is?
It was at the top somewhere. Where did I stand? We have it. What does like the first paragraph say? If I remember, it was right up top. You have it, Ken? Maybe you can read it to us.
So for elderly services,
The resolution?
yeah. I look at this and I see under Program A, Elderly Services, it says not-for-profit West Haven-based facilitator. That speaks specifically to the Housing Authority, who is West Haven. That's under one category. It doesn't, it doesn't.
resolution? Wait a minute. Didn't we get the
Councilwoman?
resolution?
I am bringing in Lee Tiernan. I'm gonna ask the attorney for ARPA to please go outside and discuss with Lee whether or not the resolution needs to be changed and if we can award money to Fish based on this resolution. With respect, we're gonna have to table this because I need to know,
It's right here.
if we can put this on hold and they can have a discussion. We're gonna,
Should I move on?
We can move on to something else, and we'll
Okay.
come back to that, Councilman.
Moving on to item 5, Johnson Community Center. That contract has been negotiated and that design work is beginning. Item 6 is closed, that's the paving. Stormwater. So broken up into different categories. The truck has been ordered. That should be in the first quarter of next year. That's item 9. The big news here is we've gotten a ruling from the accounting firm that funds can be used to pay West Haven employees to clean out culverts and use the equipment they have now. Now, I sent everybody here, and if you remember the email, a report from Mike O'Brien, and it kind of showed all of the areas he hit and all the areas he has to hit. According to UHY, it's perfectly acceptable expense to pay city employees to clean these culverts and bolster their funding.
Can I, did you wanna go first? 'Cause
No,
I
it
don't-
would just seem like that is stuff that they were supposed to do.
anyways,
so
why are we paying them?
Well, I think what we're finding is, and I'm not Public Works here, but it's such a large task with such limited people and equipment and time, that if they had more funds, the people who know the systems best could clean out the culverts, could do those sort of things.
Well, and overtime, double
That doesn't
time,
make sense to me.
they're not doing it on regular time. They don't have the time to do it. We've spent years. I can appreciate that, Councilwoman,
No, you.
we,
Before,
they don't do it now. They don't
Never
do
did
it
it.
now. They've never done it. And now we're gonna pay them, what, time and a half to do it?
So I think two things. Number one, I sent you an email and I showed you what they actually achieved, right? You saw that report.
That was city employees.
Correct.
On what, time and a half, or just in the regular day, work day?
I think probably a mix is my guess, but the point is that there are people that work for the city that know these systems best. It's far less expensive to have them do it than it is to bring in an outside contractor. Not in every case, but in most cases. While they're not doing what they would normally doing and focusing on drainage, the money would come to fill that bucket. And according to UHY, it's perfectly acceptable, and cities are doing it.
I know, but they haven't done it this whole time. They haven't done it for years. Now all of a sudden, because we have this money, oh, we can do it now. Let's put in extra 20 hours this week.
I can't speak to that, but I can tell you that the least expensive way to handle these very small jobs is to have public works people do it and to fund it.
So who's gonna manage, okay, this is a 2-hour job, it should be done in 2 hours. And all of a sudden we see, oh, look, Lake Street turned into a 6-hour job. I mean, Councilman Bruno, you look like you wanted to say something.
And who is going to monitor what they're doing and who's doing it on, and what kind of money we're talking? It doesn't, I'm concerned about how, moving forward to Councilwoman Hoskey's, they can't get it done now during the day, right? So So, how are we gonna obtain this? How are we going to be able to watch who's doing it and how we're paying them and what's getting done and when it's getting done?
I don't know the infrastructure of Public Works. I don't get involved in that. What I'm saying to you is, based on that report that I sent every council person, and I didn't get one response, by the way, in that report. Not one person said I got the report or had a question on it, just saying. I send that report out, and I saw some real success on things that were done in that report. And that, I think, is worth exploring, to go out to the Baker Streets, the Lydia Streets, the Lake Street, and see if Public Works could knock out some of these things and stop some of this flooding. Now, may come here next month and tell you it didn't work, I don't know, but the fact that ARPA funds can be used for that, I think is worth exploring. Maybe it's a combination. Maybe the contractor does this one, the city does the smaller one. Maybe the engineer says this is for the city, that's for the contractor. I'm just trying to spend some funds to alleviate some flooding. When I look at culverts and I see them completely clogged, and I bring it to somebody's attention, and I hear, we need a backhoe, we don't have the money, but okay, now we have the money, let's get it done. Saves a few houses, that's all I'm saying.
Nothing else.
Sure.
I noticed one of the members of the audience is recording the meeting with his phone, which under state law, they have to get the permission of the council. So if you want to formalize that at some point, that people coming here have the right to record your meetings, but otherwise, by law, he doesn't have the right to record the meeting. And I believe you're only doing audio now, correct? Or you are recording the meeting? All right, so, you need to, people bring their cameras in, you need to know that they're recording the meeting, and you need to, council at some point needs to give permission for people to record the meetings if they want to.
Disagree.
State law, I didn't write it.
Disagree with your interpretation.
So Kim, when that report, and I did read it, but I wanted to discuss it face to face and with my colleagues. So don't think it was ignored. I was happy to see that there was information. So how you got that together, the whole, what got done, what needs to get done. It was with someone from the pollution department that went out with you or gave you a report to kind of tell you, like, how did you compile all this information?
So since our last meeting, I've been asking everyone in City Hall any information I have on flooding. I'm trying to put together a plan, right? The Commissioner of Public Works said to me, we have this individual, Mike O'Brien.
From?
Public Works. I think it's, I don't know. I think Public Works. I
Or
don't know.
probably pollution.
It might be pollution. I don't know.
It is.
And he says, he knows this area, he knows the issues very well. We have budget constraints. So I went to the accountants, and they said that the funds are absolutely available to pay those employees to do work when it comes to drainage.
Okay, so can any of those jobs, some were small, some were big, be done because it's their job? Not because we're gonna pay you overtime to do your job. Are there anything, there is a flooding problem, it does need to be addressed, but
Well,
I wish my boss would come to me and say, Robin, do your job and we'll give you overtime.
But
Do
who's
your
saying
job."
overtime? I don't know that
Well,
that's the case.
yeah, it looks like you're paying them more unless I misunderstood.
Let's go to Baker Street, okay?
That's your
Baker
district.
Street has flooding. I go over there, and what I find is that people from 3 different streets have been dumping leaves, branches, and bushes for 100 years. And what used to be a retention pond is now filled up, and the poor woman, every time it rains, loses her basement, literally. I mean, it's not exaggeration,
No,
okay? You can see
I
the
know.
water line on it, okay? If that were dug out, that would alleviate most of her flooding problems. Not all of them, but most of them, okay? Now, what does it cost to do that? It costs more than city time. You have to bring in dumpsters. You have to maybe rent other equipment. You have to put a fence around the entire culvert so people are not throwing their debris in there like they've been doing for 100 years. That's above and beyond. That's not overtime. That's money that ARPA could pay for to solve that flooding issue on a limited basis. It's not gonna solve the 4 inches of rain, but most of the problem would maybe go away. Okay, those are the kind of things I'm talking about. It's not as you may think, where we pay some guy overtime and he goes out and does a job he used to do. There's materials involved, there's dumping involved, there's infrastructure, you gotta buy culverts, you gotta buy fencing, you've gotta cut trees down. It's a much bigger project than what a public works employee would do during his day. And that's the kind of thing that I think we could spend money on and alleviate some of this flooding quickly.
So what you're proposing are special projects that would be
Correct,
done
yes,
for this
special projects.
population.
Not the guy, like for example, you go down to Lake Street, right? I'm sorry, Colonial Boulevard. The culvert's clogged, but that's something they could do in their own time. But what they can't do is bring in all the stone to reinforce the embankment, which requires the backhoe, the dump truck, the purchase of the stone, the cleanup. That is, as you say, a special project, which is a good way of saying it. That's where ARPA money could pay for it. And I'm not talking about paying Henry to do what he's supposed to do every day. I'm talking about these sort of projects.
Yeah, and I think what people are reacting to is the fact that if people were doing this every day, we might not have gotten to the point where we need special projects done. So I think going forward, that has to probably be the plan, is to maintain what
If
is
you go to
established.
If you go to Baker Street, if you clean that out and you put a fence around it, okay, fence might cost you 10 grand, I don't know. It stops people from bringing wheelbarrows of debris and filling up the retention pond. So those are the kind of things I'm talking about.
So Ken, you're saying that when they talked about needing that mini excavator to clean out the culverts, with like, let's say Colonial Boulevard, the center, that would all be applied to this, could be used for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they're telling me.
Okay.
I actually have an email in my last packet, from the accounting firm saying you can spend those funds on those sort of things. Now, there's limited funds here. I hope we get to a point where I can bring you evidence that this is working and ask you for money from contingency to continue it, for these special projects. But there's a lot of these special projects that need to be addressed, and the city does not have the funds or the manpower for it on a regular basis.
Are you done?
Done. Thank you.
So you just hit the nail on the head for me, Ken, and what my struggle is that Public Works, when I talk, that there's so much to do. There's leaf bags, there's potholes, there's cutting down brush and all of this stuff. If we don't have the manpower for them to do the day-to-day tasks, I mean, when we had people filling the holes on Beach Street because they couldn't get to it, Public Works was angry because they weren't offered the overtime. And then Second Avenue, they were gonna go back out there and fill and I'm not saying this to you, I'm just saying, if they don't have the manpower to do their day-to-day activities, where are we getting the manpower in Public Works to now work on these special projects? And I say this, I mean, like, I don't wanna hear that Bradley Point, the weeds are coming out from the bricks anymore. Like, I don't wanna hear that our flags
I
are not,
understand your frustration 100%.
I don't know how we do that.
I understand your frustration, I really do. Here's all I'm saying. I think with a little bit of creativity and some ARPA funds, for less money than going and hiring a contractor, we can possibly do some special projects, okay? I'm not gonna guarantee you it's all gonna work. I am gonna say it's worth trying, and I would like to report back to you in a month and tell you how it made out. I may come back and say, hey, guys, that was a friggin' disaster, I gotta go back to the contractor. But judging from that report that they gave me, and I gotta tell you, I heard some enthusiasm in talking to this individual who said, Ken, I'd love to fix these flooding problems. It was music to my ears.
Right.
And I'm thinking there's a possibility to do some really meaningful work and help residents out with this program.
And I appreciate it, so if we're not gonna put all our eggs in one basket and crack them all right now, then I'm excited about it, cause I just don't wanna find out in a month's time, we spent $100,000, and then in 6 weeks, it starts flooding again because, or that people are coming and saying, oh, you know, the flood, you know, flooding impacts, and it's very substantial, but not everyone's quality of life is not impacted by flooding. Some people's quality of life are impacted because of the potholes and the need for other things that you're working on. So I just can't have all the public works being sidestepped and that
No.
other quality daily
I think we
stuff.
take
So
one-
I thank you for that.
One
Okay.
project at a time. I'll report back to you.
All
guys.
right, I appreciate that.
Okay, do you want to go back to
The food bank.
I think we have a couple attorneys here who want to talk to you. It's all yours.
Do we agree?
This is David Rutherford, our attorney.
Good evening, everyone. I know I've been before you guys before. David Grudberg, Carmody Torrance, counsel to the ARPA committee. Attorney Tiernan and I spoke. Before I address specifics about the resolution, let me just give a bit of an overview. You know, I'm in the committee meetings not as someone who is weighing in with substantive views about how money should be spent and so on. I'm there to try to ensure the process is followed as carefully as possible, working in tandem with the accountants, make sure we comply with all applicable federal laws. So, you know, it's clear a number of you have listened to some or all of the meeting last week, and I've been an observer to the process, frankly, not just last week, but over a period of months of the committee trying to figure out how best to take the $400,000 approval and translate that into something that would benefit food insecurity within the city of West Haven. It was a process that was not undertaken, you know, with snap judgments and so on. Over a period of months, the committee tried to figure out how do we attract people to apply for these programs. At one point, I think there were only 3 entities that had submitted proposals. There were efforts made to solicit more. What you saw last week was the culmination of that with 5 entities submitting proposals. I believe at one of the earlier meetings, the committee agreed, gee, we ought to send members of the committee out into the field, if you will, essentially, you know, kick the tires, check out who these entities are, and so on. And then they were invited, they all submitted written paperwork. They were invited at the meeting last Tuesday, October 4th, to be interviewed. They were asked specific questions, including questions about benefit to West Haven residents. I spoke with Attorney Tiernan on, you know, I understand the question, or the specific question being raised is, does the resolution limit things to entities, or limit recipients of funds to entities physically based in West Haven, or is it broader than that? We put our collective legal heads together. I think we are in agreement that there is some ambiguity. The phrase West Haven based is used, I believe, in 3 of the 4 categories of appropriation. If one wants to say that West Haven based is limited to an entity that has a physical address in West Haven, then that's that. I think the committee's focus was more on what foothold does any entity have in West Haven? How does this entity serve the food insecurity needs of the residents of West Haven? And is what they are proposing a reasonable way to try to implement certainly the spirit and I believe the letter of what the resolution was trying to do? Again, reasonable minds can differ. I can tell you, as an observer in the room, there were issues debated among all the members of the committee. Ultimately, the decision made was unanimous, and my takeaway as, again, an observer in the room is that everybody in there was trying to do the best they could and make the best decisions they could for, in answer to the question, how can we help food issues in West Haven? Doesn't mean everybody's going to agree with that decision, but as someone who, part of my perceived role, or how I perceive my role, is to make sure the process works. And quite frankly, I saw a process operating as I would hope it would. People talking about how can we best accomplish civic goals, and they voted on it. So happy to try to address any questions people have, but that's my perspective as counsel to the committee on this issue, not just last week, but over a period of months, culminating in last week.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, talking about the food, but I think a lot of people, and I understand their concerns, is especially with fish. Now, they, like you said, they service New Haven and Hamden and West Haven, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Now, you're saying New Haven's giving them 16
I question
roughly.
that. They haven't gotten a commitment of that yet, and they have gotten other grants from New Haven, and New Haven, I don't know if it's 145, by the way, but they got a huge number of people applying.
Right.
What I think these funds enable them to do is take their 200 homes they service and double it to 400. And that's what the affidavit speaks to. I also want to say something.
400 in West Haven?
400 in West Haven, yeah. They're doing 200 now. The other thing I want to point out, when we put the vac truck out to bid, we went through the local vendor ordinance. And UHY came down on us like a ton of bricks and said, you are not allowed to take federal ARPA funds and apply localities to it. You cannot use your local vendor ordinance, okay? All the feds care about is the best deal for what you buy. I don't even know if we can say West Haven-based organizations based on that. I can bring UHY back and ask them, and you can ask them yourself. I felt they're based in West Haven because the number of homes that they service and the unique thing they do, which is deliver to the house. That's what our committee felt.
No, I get that, and I can appreciate that part and understanding, but my concern, and well, not mine, but the constituents, their concern is these other towns that Fish deliver, and Fish does a great, absolute, hands down, great job. I don't think anybody's complaining or going to knock what they do. It's like West Haven is footing the bill for a new vehicle, and no other towns are helping. And I think that is the big concern with a lot of the West Haven residents.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I would offer you this. Number one, I think West Haven has the most room to grow in this service. They're talking about doubling. They can't double in New Haven. They can't double in Hamden. I don't know that a vehicle's on the table. Anything that they purchase with these funds, they have to prove to us our West Haven residents benefit from that. That hasn't happened yet. Money hasn't been released, and it's up to $75,000.
Right.
We're gonna see what they have to say. I think the affidavit is a good start, but, last I heard, they weren't accepting.
I get that, I really do. I think it would ease everybody's mind if, and we can't say anything, we're only one city, is if the other two towns said, we will split 3 ways, we'll purchase the vehicle to service our residents. That would make things a little bit more palatable, I believe. And I'm not saying that they're using this money to go purchase a vehicle,
Yeah.
but it seems like they
That's
need
what they
to,
said. They
right?
are.
So they need to
Right.
purchase a vehicle. And it seems like we're footing the bill for that, and that's what the residents.
I don't know if the
said.
vehicle's gonna happen. Their bigger concern are freezers, refrigerators, paper bags. We have to see what they bring before us. They've got more work to do.
And I just want to say for the record, before you do, is that we keep saying that New Haven had 140 applicants. Well, New Haven got 3 times the money we did, I think, or double the money that West Haven did. I mean, they got millions more than what we did, so they can, and I mean, I don't know how they couldn't double their productivity in New Haven, because I think, we have 55,000 residents, they have, what, 250,000?
105, 110?
100, is that what they have?
Yeah. 132.
Oh, so 2 times what we have,
Yeah.
2.5 times. So, Councilman,
Yeah.
you raised your hand?
So Ken, I understand the argument that, has been raised here tonight, and I battle with, I think, me personally, I need to make sure that the need in West Haven is fulfilled, and then if it is fulfilled with these numbers, as a good human being, if there's somebody going hungry somewhere else and we have an opportunity to help, then I think I'm okay with that. What I'd like to see happen though is because, listen, everybody that came up really said, if somebody comes to us and says they need food, they need food. We're
Right.
not checking their address, we're not
Right.
checking their tax return, right? We're just gonna give them. So kind of everybody, you know, is helping people. They don't say, are you from West Haven, are you from New Haven, are you from, you know, Hamden or whatever it may be. But I think, and maybe you're doing this anyway, but I think with all of this, since it's kind of new for everybody, I think a lot of them said, hey, listen, this is something, you know, vertical. They've committed to a facility right over here downtown, and they're putting a new program together. So, whatever the money is it reimbursement, or are we given, I mean, it's reimbursement to the expenses that they have, right?
So I think what happens is, we told everybody it's reimbursement. But I think what happens is, if a large purchase is made, like a $10,000 freezer, you bring us the bill, we pay for the freezer directly, and they get the freezer. But you bring up a very good point. What I heard in those interviews was, we don't check licenses, we don't check where you live, there's a need, we fulfill it. Fish is the only organization that actually does check, because you have to have a condition that you can't leave your house to be serviced by Fish. And each person is vetted on that basis, nobody else is.
The schools are, the Board of Ed is, Elderly Services, Elderly Services is the housing authority that services West Haven. I can't.
I think that that's the point. I think that
I'm sorry.
if I'm hearing,
we cut him off. I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Councilman.
No,
Buckley.
no, that's all right. I think I've said what I want to say so far, so go ahead.
no, I just was gonna say, I think what I'm hearing, the concern is, and we haven't talked about this, so tell me if I'm wrong, it's that I think there's some caution, with approaching this because they're unable to leave their homes, if they're the most in need of food. And eliminating everybody else from that service.
If I implied that, my apologies. I'm not saying, I'm saying it's a group of people that without Fish cannot go to the local pantry to get food. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. I hear what you're saying, but that's an assumption, because that's implying that you know what I'm saying? I think that's the point that she's making. I think that's the point that's being made. You're making an assumption that because they can't leave their homes, that they have no other resources. And maybe they don't, and maybe that's what this is. But I think that's what you're.
I believe some of them don't.
Sorry?
I believe some of them don't.
Yeah, I believe some of them don't. I'm just saying that I think that to exclude everybody else, though there are other people
No
that are out, that's
No
what
one's
I think I'm
excluded.
hearing.
No one's
Okay.
excluded.
Okay.
You know, we talked to Vertical Church, they're opening up the Dream Center. That's gonna be right in downtown. They're doing food and clothing. The Housing Authority is setting up pantries at all 6 of their locations. The Board of Ed can expand from Kerrigan and West Haven High School and do the 6 elementary schools, and Bailey High School, Kerrigan, the 6 elementary schools. It seemed like it was pretty well covered.
Can I say something, please?
Go ahead.
How you doing, Ken? Thank you for what you do. I have a question. So
Sure.
you're basing, how are they basing it? Just saying that if you can't leave your house,
Mhm.
then that's how you get this food?
Yeah.
Or is it because they say you truly are hungry,
No.
there's no way of you getting food, because I don't have to leave my house and somebody can bring me food, and then I just have somebody else bring me food, right? Like, I'm just wondering,
My-
there are people that are hungry that
Sure.
could leave the house, but they just don't have the means to get the food.
My understanding is that the clients are referred to Fish from another organization. And they meet a criteria that requires Fish or an organization like Fish, and I don't think there, other than Meals on Wheels, I don't think there is another one that I can find, and they get referred. Fish has been refusing referrals in all 3 towns over the last several months because they've reached capacity. This money will allow them to double their capacity in West Haven. That's what we're shooting for.
Thank you.
But they're referred.
Okay.
Well, what do we do about this where it says, West Haven exclusively when it comes to, when it comes for, you know, the kitchens and the food and clothing banks operating and serving residents of the city of West Haven exclusively? Like, what do we do with that language?
I'd like to get some advice from UHY. You've heard from the attorneys tonight, and I'll email the council what they say. You know, I don't want to upset anybody. It seems like I upset 2 people tonight, but my understanding of these pantries is anybody can walk in a pantry and get food. Not everybody can get food delivered to their house. That's the need I'm talking about.
Sounds good. Anything else, any other updates that we need to know about?
I can continue down the list if you want. Child pedestrian safety, I have some news there for you. So I've been asked to look at a sidewalk going from Winslow Drive to Baybrook Shopping Center behind the guardrail. And it was brought to our attention that there are people walking that distance all the time, heading to the beach, heading to Baybrook Shopping Center, and heading to Dive Bar, the dollar store, and there's been cases of baby carriages going down there, people with kids, and there's no way to get on a sidewalk from those neighborhoods to Baybrook Shopping Center. I don't have enough money in the current budget, and I'm not asking for a decision tonight, but I've got an estimate of $50,000 under the current contract that we have to put in that sidewalk. If you decide to approve that at some point, it's going to require some state permitting because it's state property, and there's a large slope there, which is what's making this a $50,000 project. But that would actually create a sidewalk from Winslow to Baybrook Shopping Center. We also went down to the bird sanctuary, and we have a path that goes down to the water that is a dirt path. We can put a sidewalk there for $3,800. If that's something that you guys want to do.
I'm
And I
sorry,
also want to report
3,800?
3,800, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm also reporting that Kerrigan, that sidewalk will start in November, that sidewalk project.
And how much did you need for that?
I've got it in the contingency. I think it was 20,000. I've got enough money there for that.
I just want to caution us, because now that so we went from child pedestrian safety, and the councilwoman in the 5th district nearly had to go to war to get a sidewalk for her district to a school. She had to I had to talk her, we role played and had hours of conversation how to successfully make this happen. And in the next week, we're talking about how to get a sidewalk down near the beach with the guardrail. There are sidewalks missing all over this city with people walking in the street. So I need to caution this council that if we start putting aside $50,000, know for a fact that before we do, that I will request of the city residents to bring us their sidewalks. I think, let me say for the record, when you turn off of, you go up Kelsey Avenue and you take that right into the high school, there's no sidewalk. Those kids are walking in the street. In the street. You have your students in this city walking in the street. Every day, all day, 180 days of the year, in rain and snow and icy conditions. So if we're gonna do this, know that I'm gonna ask for that turn from Kelsey Avenue where you have Painter Drive or Painter Avenue, there's no sidewalks. Go there 1:30 in the afternoon or 7:15 in the morning and watch hundreds of kids walking in the street that tie up because they're just, I caution us that if we're gonna start doing this, there's kids out there that are still walking in the street. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I just needed to go on the record because I'm kind of surprised.
And I'm glad that you said that, because when I talked about, I don't wanna keep on going back there because it is getting done, but when we talked about sidewalks and stuff near Carrigan, there was a guardrail problem.
Yep.
Nobody could move the guardrail. Now it's easy to do a guardrail.
Completely
kind of
different.
project.
No, absolutely
Okay.
not. First of all, there was no fight between us. You asked for a sidewalk on a piece of property that had a lot of challenges. I did not know there were other options at the time. I took my own time, I went down there, I met with all the city officials, and come up with a good alternate plan for you, and we did it.
And I'm happy.
Okay? There was no fight that I'm aware of. We're not moving a guardrail. There's an existing guardrail that has a slope behind it that you can't walk behind because you'll fall down a little hill. So you're forced to walk out into Jones Hill Road. Now, I don't care if you do the project or not, but people bring me these projects, and I bring them to you, okay? And if it's that upsetting that I bring these things to you, I won't bring them to you anymore. I apologize.
It's not that, I don't know who the people are. You can tell me who the people are.
That
and
was
I-
your councilman who's not here tonight, asked me to look at it.
Well, then, all I'm saying is that if the councilman in the 10th district is going to ask for a $50,000 walkway, I am gonna ask for, is it that your district?
He didn't know it was 50,000, he asked
Well,
me
I
to
don't
look
know
into
what
it.
he knew. I'm just saying that it says child pedestrian,
Yeah.
and when we talked about it, we were told that this money was for sidewalks in and around schools. And it's not you, I'm just saying that there are many sidewalks in and around schools that still need to be done. Like the sidewalk coming off of Kelsey Avenue, going into, West Haven High School. The sidewalk just stops, and then there's grass,
So-
and the street that the kids walk
So
on.
one suggestion is you've got $2.3 million in contingency. Maybe you should put all those project sidewalks into the bucket and see what comes out of it and price everything. You have the unique opportunity where you're paying 70% on the dollar with an old contract that he grudgingly maintained till next November. So that means for every 3 sidewalks you install, you get 1 for free.
So can I
Okay.
just say, my ask was because we have handicapped people that go down into the bird sanctuary with their little walkers, and it's just this little tiny dirt path, and it's actually very dangerous. And this little slope, that just having that little bit on the path will help the people that are in walkers and possibly even wheelchairs get down to the little area where they fish. There's a man that goes down there and fishes. There's ladies that go down there with their little canes and they watch the birds, and it's just something to help people that are disabled enjoy their life a little bit better. That was my ask.
I wasn't referring, I think every city property should be accessible to people who are not, mobile in the way we all are.
Right.
I'm just saying that, what I said. But I think that's something we should look at, like city properties that are not.
Number 13, broadband access. The library is moving ahead with the Navigator program. They just requested funds to buy laptops for that program. That was in the last ARPA booklet. City Hall windows, the contract, I believe, has just been finalized, and they'll be out here doing their discovery. I think we'll have windows installed in the next maybe 3 months or something, depending on how long they take to come in. The lead time of some of these products is starting to get reduced, which is good. Fire districts, not much has happened. Boardwalk monitoring, our low bidder for design was $24,000. Our second low bidder was $76,000. So we feel good about that. We're meeting that designer out there next week, and we will begin the process of creating that camera system from West Walk down to the new bridge.
Ken?
Yes.
Can you tell me, Are we gonna include West Walk, or are we not going to include West Walk?
Not my decision. Here's what I think's gonna happen. I'm gonna take this piece that I was told to look at, get it up successfully, bring a laptop in here, show the council how it works, and then someone can tell me what the next section's gonna be. And I wanna use the same vendors, do a change order, and just continue on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Police retention fund is off of my plate. That's completed. Youth Employment Fund, the Board of Ed has not asked for their $30,000 yet, so we're working on that. Painter Park Fieldhouse, the contract is, I think one of them had to be redone for Marb, and that may have been one of them. I think Marb had, yeah, so that one's on hold. We're getting the paperwork to satisfy Marb to get that moving. EMS premium pay, I mean, 2 Marbs ago, I went to the meeting, it sounded like there was a little bit of life there, I don't know, but it's staying on the list until I hear otherwise. Police protection, the bulletproof vests were ordered, the gas masks were ordered. That brings us to the whole 19 million, that's 26.11 as spent. You've got 6 that are still in holding. You got the Housing Crisis Grant Fund. I went to your grant writer, and he's developing a program for you to consider on rent assistance, and he's copying some other successful programs, so I hope to have that for you maybe next month. Library site development, I know nothing about. Public health outreach, I haven't heard about that in a while. Aid to small business, I believe we have some language to present to you, which I'll bring at the next meeting. Art Center, there was a architect hired that may have also been stopped by Mark. Was that the second one, I think? Yes. And that'll go back on, and the design will start. Broadband access is sort of just sitting idle. So that's what we got.
I just have a quick
Go ahead.
question. Has Chief Perno asked you or talked to you about the ticketing constables using some ARPA money?
He has not.
Okay, I'll follow up.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Ken, 2 questions. First, process question. See,
Sure.
you're starting to get, your momentum. A lot of things are in the pipeline, contracts, payments, purchase orders. So how's the back-end process working? So for payment and purchase orders and things like that?
Compared to that, this meeting is relaxing to me. It's getting better. So I think what happens is, I'm not part of that, but all these projects have got to be set up in Munis. That, I understand, has been done now. There were some outstanding invoices. I made some phone calls. They were paid almost immediately. I think it's going better. And I think we have some good people in finance who want this to be successful, and when I call them, they make things happen.
So maybe the question, when Mr. Jackson comes back up, maybe it's kind of for him to see what the process is in finance, and if he's comfortable with the process regarding, these ARPA funds. Like I said, I know that you have your checkpoints with your committee and your attorney and UHY, but then at some point you turn the packet over to the finance department who has to execute that, right?
Yeah, so what I do is I create a letter the day after the committee. I send it to the finance director and I say, here are all the approvals, here are the attached invoices. I do a second letter to the purchasing agent and I say, here's what's on the horizon. Please keep an eye on this. This has to go out to bid. This, let us know when these bids come in. We communicate that way, in writing.
Yes, and there's a third component that we add in for finance. There is a second set of accounting documents that are managed by the grant writer's office. So when I get a packet from Mr. Carney, I deliver one to Mr. Spryer, who usually already has it, and one to the grants office. Mr. Spryer and I then go through and make sure that what has been submitted is appropriate for action, either action internally or MARB if required. So there are a couple moving parts to it because some of these projects are large and the contracts are large. But as Mr. Carney said, we're making our way, trying to get a little bit better every day.
And does UHY or our auditors have recommendations on how that, I mean, they've been doing it right all over, so they have recommendations to us to make
All
sure
the time.
that, our records are nice and tight?
I think it's better than that. So in that front, we have reporting deadlines. My understanding is we've met every deadline, and UHY actually comes into the building, creates those reports using the information from the packets, the information from the grants writer. They go work with the finance department, and my understanding is we've met the deadlines to date. We feel good about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman?
Last meeting, the last meeting we here, we talked about, in addition to the rent assistance program that Robin proposed, about, some COVID relief funds, something that would replicate the program that is available or was available through the state. And you were gonna look into that to see what could be done here for the city.
Yeah, so those sort of things, I've got to work with Doug on that, and I am, and Doug tells me he's just about ready to feed you guys some information on that.
Okay.
I have a question. You were in City Hall looking at the lighting in every
Yes.
room. Is that somehow gonna be coming before us? Cause I'm really hoping the answer is no.
No.
Oh, good. Any other questions for Ken? Thank you, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Jackson, I'd like to ask you some questions regarding, Marb.
Certainly.
Why is the city, I remember a while back in speaking to Mr. Spryer, I had mentioned to him at the time about having our vendors do a disclosure if they had any relations or any business with the city or city employees. And they're like, oh, well, that could be in the contract. And then my understanding that Marb even brought that up about, vendors and their ethic form disclosures. And I'm thinking, I was pretty positive I mentioned it 2 months ago, and I would have thought, or 3 months ago, we would have implemented that. But now we have the Marb hounding us about it. And I was just like a little bit kind of like, we go 0 days. We go 0 days without fumbling the ball. Because if we had just implemented it back then when I mentioned it, Marb wouldn't have been peed off at us again, on top of all the other ethics.
I was actually surprised that we didn't have one. In every community that I have worked in, no collusion statements, things like that are
So are we in the
standard.
process of doing
Yes.
that? We are.
Yes, I think
But
it's-
we are in the process of doing that because Marb yelled at us? Or we are in the process of doing that because, does anyone else remember me mentioning that like 2 months ago?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I did say it. Like, when did we start? Once Marb mentioned it, it's kind of like the P card situation a few months back. When I said about we should do with the P card, and it wasn't until Marb said. Okay. So are we almost complete because Marb yelled at us?
Yes, what I recommended to Mr. Spryer was to copy the forms on state contracts. No need to recreate the wheel, and we know that that is a form and format that they will understand and appreciate.
Okay. Do you have any idea what this, so I just want to say the mayor hounded this body. I turned in my ethics form 4 times, right? I turned in my ethics form 4 times, and what I kept doing is I just kept forwarding it from the same email to say, I sent this in, well, here it is again, here it is again. I actually sat here and people, Bridget, you got to do your ethics form, and I'm like, I don't even know why this is sitting here. Here, let me go and forward it again, because I wanted proof that I submitted it, because no one was going to tell me I did it. So what is the holdup with city employees? Why can't we get them to do it?
In large measure, city employees, city administrative employees have submitted the forms.
Mm-hmm.
Sworn law enforcement officers get certain protections under law in terms of protecting some of their relationships, because should that information fall into nefarious hands, it could be bad for the families and loved ones of police officers.
Okay.
So that's the reason why they're not all submitted.
I'm sorry.
So,
Certainly, for example, you can't get a police officer, a sworn law enforcement officer's address off of a voter registration system.
Right.
It's just, to protect them and their families. And there was some concern within the police department that providing information on who you may be related to could put those individuals in potential jeopardy. And so we've asked them to put that concern in writing so that we can be fully transparent with who hasn't signed and a rationale why, and let the chips fall where they may.
okay, so it is, and so I know exactly what you're talking about, and that, I know some police officers. And I know that as well. So it is just those employees of the city that have not submitted their ethics forms? There's not,
There's less than 5 others. Some folks who may be out on disability and just haven't been able to come in and submit cases like that.
Okay. I appreciate the update on that. Any other questions for Mr. Jackson about?
I'm just curious, is there some way to, for the people that are not submitting their forms, is there some way to put some sort of consequences on them?
It's difficult, and I'm not the right person to answer from a legal standpoint, but there is certainly, there are a book of decisions up in Weathersfield where folks have issued discipline that was outside of the contract for actions that were not covered in the contract. So if your collective bargaining unit agreement doesn't say failure to submit this form will lead to consequences up to and including termination, we have to put it in the contract. It is one of those items that is.
So, but if you're
so there's some egregious things, but this is likely to be perceived as an administrative function by the state labor board.
True. But are you done?
Yes.
I don't.
Yes,
Can
go
I?
ahead.
So that is true, right? You can go to a union member and say, "I want you to do this. I need you to do this." You're trying to influence them to do it. The only way that that's going to not be okay, and maybe get the MARB to understand that, we're doing our due diligence. I'm trying to enforce it with all our employees. And by doing so, the response from the union would be a grievance. To say, well, look, we've gotten a grievance. We've tried. We're doing everything we can. It looks as if we're not even trying.
Well, they did receive and.
We did get a grievance?
No. They did.
Oh.
They did receive the full roster of individuals who submitted and individuals who did not submit. They received that at the last meeting.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Did Lee leave? Because I'm assuming, it appears that Lee's not here anymore. I just really want to go on the record to say,
You wanna check and see if he's in the bill?
should I get up again? Absolutely.
Here he is,
Here he is, Bridget.
Bridget, he's here.
I'm glad you came here.
Huh? What was funny? So, the police pension.
Yes.
As is everyone else probably has ever heard me talk about it, it's just tired of hearing me talk about it. My understanding is that we've lost another police officer, And he shared that the reason he's going to the new municipality is because of the pension that this municipality is giving to him. I don't know when we're going to be, and maybe you can educate us, maybe you can't. I don't know when it's going to be critical, right? We're at 91, 92 men. And my understanding is that we're either supposed to be at 111 or 113 patrolmen. That is substantial to me. And when I don't, like, at what point are we just to the point where it's like, you go to Walgreens on Campbell Avenue and Brown, and they close. Rite Aid on 3rd and Elm close because they do not have the staff to stay open on any given day. They're just, I am really concerned, and I love the idea when I hear, oh, but we have 7 police officers training in the academy. Okay, so they come out and then they drive around for 9 months to a year. I don't know all of it. If we don't do something, we're gonna get to the point where it's a quality of life. Like, we're literally, our police officers, to me, we're putting them in danger. We're putting our city in danger. Like, we don't have enough people to keep our city safe. And it literally, and then the police officers, they're being mandated and they're being made to stay. They can't go home to their loved ones and their children. I mean, it is just madness to me. And I am so tired of hearing myself say it. Why can't we get an answer? Like, I'm sick, and you're just the face of it, because if she was here, as soon as I get the information, I'll let you know. How long does it take?
Yeah, I as you know, I expected to have an answer for you tonight. I did reach out to Milliman. They assure me they're working on it. If I don't have something in the next few days, I'll be recommending that someone else take up the task, because it has, even under their scenario where they were diverted to do other work, I still don't understand why we don't have an answer. So I will assure you that I will be recommending another entity do it if I don't have an answer by the next meeting.
What is going to be enough? Like, what is it going to be enough? Like, no, let me finish. Do we have to have, and I can't even bring myself to, do we need to have an officer, be hurt? Like, do we need to have a mass exit? Like, if we get to 85, what do we do? What do we do when we have 80 officers? Do we go to New Haven and beg them for help? Do we is it mutual aid all the time? Do we rely on UNH? Like, what will we do if next week 15 officers decide to give their resignation? Because we can't even get out of our own way. Like, I just don't even understand it. And you're literally just the face, you're the board that I'm throwing the darts at, but at what point, what do we do? We canceled fireworks because we didn't have the manpower to keep our residents safe on what should be West East Pride, right? And July 3rd, fireworks, we couldn't do it. We couldn't have fireworks and a carnival because we didn't have the manpower. We didn't have the people in the, I don't, am I crazy? Please don't. You know what I'm saying.
I don't have the floor. I don't have the floor.
But am I making sense? Am I being extra? Am I being, oh, there she goes? But is what I'm saying something that really could come up? Can we get to the point where we're just at the point where we don't have enough guys? We don't have enough people to be in the streets.
So the trouble is, for me, is that I think this is a standing item that's probably over a year old, right? And the situation is very fluid, right? Some officers come, some officers leave. There's no continuity, right? And some of them leave for better benefits. There's no doubt about it. And that's why we try to address some of it with with the retention fund, but the problem is, and it seems like we've had this happen in the past, is the administration, right, and this may not be on you, but it's whoever you've identified to do this study, takes an awfully long time to move the needle. And then, as soon as they get that information, it comes to the council, and right away, you gotta approve this. We can't wait, you gotta approve this. And I'm thinking of, I know that once you get that information, it's gonna be a bunch of different scenarios, right?
It will.
With a cost attached to each scenario,
Correct.
which we now need to can't take that in isolation. We have to take that and look at the rest of the needs of the city, the rest of the budget, incorporate that into the 5-year plan, cost it out, and determine at the end of the day, is this something that the West Haven community can afford or not? But I think the frustration is, and I don't want to speak for Councilwoman Hosky, but the frustration is we can't even get to that point because we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and while we're static, the situation is very fluid. And I think that's some of the rub, right? We you know, it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, I could think of some scenarios in my head about how you go about, but we've been waiting for these scenarios for over a year. And I know, again, you said that they've been diverted to other work, and I don't know who diverted them, whether the city diverted them, they diverted themselves, but, you know, it's a concern.
It's critical. Like this is critical. Like it is critical. Like, do we need a disaster? Like, when the hell are we going to wake up? Like, and you're literally just the face of it, and I just want you to know that if she was here, I would be more animated about it. Did you want to say something?
I just want to clarify, is it just the mayor that is responsible for this?
Yes,
Okay.
it is her. She drives the ship. This is her freaking.
Okay.
I'm
so
not. I'm
it's
not
all right.
yelling at you, but it's her ship.
Because I heard they. So that's what.
Who's they?
I don't know who they, I mean, I wasn't always directly involved in this.
Understood.
Because Milliman
Do you want to say anything, Mr. Jackson?
is a buffer, but
Got anything about it? Because I mean, somebody needs to move the needle. Like, this is just insane.
I mean,
It's either yes or no. Like,
This is an industry-wide problem. If you listen to Hartford at the MARC meeting, they have the exact same issue. You can talk to 160 chiefs in this town, and they're all going to have the same issue of recruitment. They may have better
benefits.
better with retention and having people retire out as opposed to move on. That is absolutely true. But the last I checked, the town of Hampden had 63,000 people, 240 road miles, and 82 police officers. It's a problem everywhere. When I was in New Haven, the police department was one of the departments that reported to me. They were down 106 officers. This is a real problem, and it's a real problem everywhere. So there's no magic bullet solution. When this Milliman report comes in, it's not going to give us a path when it's a really hard time for young men and women to decide to go into the law enforcement field. It's a very tough time.
I just want to say it hasn't been a year. It's been over 2 years because I think, was it Branford?
4 years.
Well,
Branford did it in 2 years.
no, I'm saying, what I mean, Chairman, is that when I think it was Branford in and we had the meeting with them, it was 2 years ago.
Yes.
And I'm just saying that
that was explored, though.
We're the turtle and the hare. When the turtle beats us, like I don't. It's
Branford,
so disappointing.
Branford had been in the Murphy retirement system, so it was easier for them to do a buy-in. We were not in a position to do that. That could be an option, or that could be a reduced option, but we weren't able to duplicate what Branford did because Branford had already been in the Murphy system. Our pension is a private pension, our police pension. So it was
I've been
not
in
as
this
easy.
seat for how long have I been here? 5 years almost? And it's been a topic of a conversation from the very start.
I don't disagree with that.
No, right, right. And and if I hear one more time, well, I didn't vote for it, I was against it. Well, you weren't so against it that you're moving on it, like somebody, Councilwoman, I'm sorry, cause I'm red in the face and I'm just gonna keep talking.
I was just gonna suggest that I wasn't here for any of it, so I don't know, I'm like, learning and I'm listening. But I guess I wonder, because it sounds like it's very stalled, years stalled. So is there any possibility that you talked about I'm not arcing it up or handing it off to somebody else? I mean, it feels like you have to restart the whole thing, the conversation.
Well, I
Because-
would get timelines in advance as to the new entity that would analyze this. All Milliman is doing for you is, as Councilman Quagliani said, they're giving you the different piles to choose from in terms of actuarially where that would leave things. And most important, and why the timelines are important, is certainly for the next budget cycle, right? You want to be positioned that you at least know which element would take what and, what you would want to do. I mean, I find it frustrating too. I don't know what else, other than the power of saying, all right, you guys, we tried, you didn't make it, so we'll go to somebody else. I don't know what else I can do. Milliman has done good work for the city historically and in the past. They're best positioned because they have the city information. So, and they say, we're gonna get it any moment. But any moment is, I guess my definition of any moment is different than what they're telling me. But like I say, all I can do is recommend too. I can't order anything, but I will, if I don't see progress very quickly, I will recommend that we go to another entity, and I will list entities that could perform the service.
And I feel like we're seeing this happening in every, sector at this point. We're seeing this happen. There's not enough employees anywhere to do anything anymore. There's been a shift. Like, the world has changed, over the last 3 years. And, so the police didn't have it any easier than a lot of the other job sectors had it. But the point that Bridget's making is that we're in a critical state, and if we lose more officers, there is a risk. I mean, it's no different. We're dealing with this in nursing. There's a crisis there. It's everywhere, every sector. But that doesn't mean that you stop trying, and that doesn't mean that you stop looking. It means that the approach has to change, but you still have to keep moving forward. And so if that means that we have to stop with them and find a different group of people to work with that can help us, then that's what we need to do.
I agree.
And so at this point, I think we have to get out of this way of like, we're trying to do something new with things that are old in a time where these times are unprecedented that we're in right now. We've never been here before. So I think we have to shake ourselves out of the old ways of doing things and find some new ways of getting things done. I don't know.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
I'm just saying that if it's not working, what are we waiting for?
Correct. I don't work on this unilaterally.
I know you
so
don't, and I'm new to
we'll
this,
have
so I get to say this, and
I will.
I don't have any baggage.
But I hear you, and like I said, I mean, that's my opinion too, is that if I don't have progress immediately, I expected it tonight. I mean, I expected they had the manpower to get what's done. I don't know what's holding it up anymore. So if they can't do it, just tell me you can't do it. I mean,
So
I
at
can
what
tell you,
point do
I had a situation where I had an appraiser, and I went 4 months, when am I gonna get the appraiser? And then they finally told me they didn't feel they were qualified to do the appraisal.
I know, but if
So
we
I
keep
found a great
sitting here
appraiser.
waiting for people to come back and say they can't do something, or somebody has to make the decision, and I think that's the point that we're all kind of saying, somebody's gotta make the call.
You're right.
Somebody's gotta make the call.
And I will
is that the
recommend
mayor?
such if.
Is that
if
the mayor?
comes to it. I think it would be a collaboration between the mayor, the police chief. I mean, we've heard a lot about, manpower and public safety and whatever, and obviously if you're gonna make decisions like this, you wouldn't do it in a vacuum without the police chief. So I think it would be the mayor, the police chief, and the finance director, because the finance director deals directly with the actuarial numbers. I don't know whom else. I think that's it. I think it would be those three folks who would meet and say, yes, this is the way to go forward.
And is there any place for the council to kind of influence that movement? Or is that something that has to happen outside of our work?
I mean, it's a running line item on your agenda, so it's not going away. I'm not gonna come back and Bridget won't be in the hallway saying, come back here, I have another question, so.
So I guess what I'm saying
It
is,
will be
how
a
do we get to
priority
the
of
How do we
mine.
get over the bridge? How do we get to the point where that happens? Where the mayor and the finance director and the police chief can sit down and start this jumpstart this conversation again? Like, how do we get there?
Well, as I say, I will put in writing that I recommend a different path if Milliman doesn't have some immediate result in the next few days, a week tops. And, point out that, it would be best that the city council, the police chief, the police chief is in favor of this. I think I can say that much, without consulting him, that this analysis take place. And so, I don't know what more to tell you. All I can do is recommend that the three come together and here's the information and let's move forward. And just keep inquiring, where is it, where is it, where is it? How are we doing on that? I don't know what more I can do.
That doesn't sound very good, but okay, I'll take your answer.
It-
Because it just doesn't sound like there's any, it doesn't sound like there's any,
push?
any movement or seriousness about the urgency that I think everybody is talking about
I
here
can tell you that I have
tonight.
experienced when things were dead as a doornail on a Tuesday and were revived on a Friday. So, I am optimistic that this can happen. It has to happen. There is not a choice that it not happen. It can't just sit idle. But unfortunately, we do need the input of experts in the field. Actuarials are not unsophisticated people. They go to school for a while. They make the big bucks, and that's for a reason, because they're in a very scientific area. And, we need that input. If we can't get it from Milliman, we'll get it from somebody else, hopefully in a very efficient way.
Mr. Jackson? I'm sorry, Councilwoman.
No,
Mr.
thank
Jackson, you are well-versed, well-known, and have a reputation. I beseech you to get involved in this quest. We need help. So I don't know if you know anyone at Milliman or whoever he's talking about. I don't know if you know somebody who does. But I need you to get involved. And if there's somebody else out there, another entity, another company, another Milliman, that could help us turn this around, I am asking you to get involved and help us retain our police officers and figure out if we could bring a pension back to West Haven. I don't know how to get her to move on it, and I don't know how to get Lee help. But we need help before we continue to lose our police officers to the point that we are at a critical stage, or that something happens and we all say what we should have done and what we could have done. Because I don't generally live with regret, but that really will bother me for a very long time. And I'm just really trying to be so nice about this. I'm really trying not to get pissed off. And I'm just asking you for your help. So I don't know what you can do, but you are our finance director. You know everybody in Hartford, and you know all of these people. I am asking for help. I am just saying we need your help, and I need this to be on the to-do list. I need this to be on the to-do list.
First thing tomorrow, I'll reach out to an old colleague at OPM to see if they can help provide some backup in case Milliman is unable to perform.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Are we paying for this service for the last 2 years? Is this are we paying them
Well,
to do nothing?
no, we wouldn't pay them to do nothing.
we're paying them for other things.
We pay them for things that we need them to assist us with, yes.
Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they wanna get paid to do this.
I'm not aware that they're unpaid. They're paid.
Is it part of their, like, natural contract?
Yeah, or is this a special
This
project?
would be an add-on.
Another
Yes.
special project.
Another
But
special
they've had
project.
add-ons. It's not, I can't believe that would be the issue.
All right.
They haven't said, they haven't rejected the assignment.
Yes, it is, much like our first auditors, the city does not pay for work that is not received.
So can we have a copy of the engagement letter with them, that where we, got their, where we
Milliman?
requested their services on this? Like, what was it dated and all that stuff?
Well, no, Milliman has a general contract. I don't think we did a separate
So what, do we
engagement
just
for
send them a
this.
letter saying, can you do this, like an email, like somebody called them?
Yeah, that would have been the prior finance director. I mean, I can have.
You gotta narrow that one down. Like, when you say prior,
Mr. Jackson's immediate predecessor. But I can probably, I can ask the folks in IT if they could
you
provide
knew who he
that.
was talking about? But I thank you. I would appreciate it if we could see what that was, because maybe, you know, maybe he didn't do what he was supposed to do.
That's what I'm saying, we need the minutes.
We definitely know that Milliman is engaged in working on these scenarios, correct?
Well, that's what I've been told. I don't sit over, I don't have videotape of
So
them
we
working
may,
on it.
they may not have even, Mr. Jackson may call them up and say, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have any requests to do any scenarios. I think that's what we want to know. Were they actually engaged to do this or not?
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I mean,
I do have emails from the prior finance director that said that what the holdup was, that they needed more information and they were gonna get them more information. I mean, I have emails going back 2 years. Lee, Mr. Jackson, at our next city council meeting, I look forward to the update. Please. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just had a quick question. So when you say they have a general contract, is that an additional cost for the police pension? Or is that part of the general contract that they have with us?
my experience has been that when we have work that is not anticipated, so for instance, Milliman might help us if you're gonna do a bond, let's say you wanted to bond, I don't know, the Washington school stuff. So there would be work they might perform to assist us with the
Mhm.
bond prospectus and getting the bonding out. But I mean, in general, they're sort of with us, doing actuarial studies. It is a constant need to have financial information on hand. So they are, they've been doing that. I mean, I don't remember anybody else doing that, to be honest with you, for the city of West Haven. So they've been doing it for years.
And then when you're working on or with them to get these updates, how often do you ask for updates from them if they are working on it at all?
I ask for updates if requested by council, because that was Mr. Jackson's immediate predecessor, I assumed was working on that. I also engaged the Labor Council to also engage with Milliman to make sure they're focused on the right direction and what we're looking for, which I've also been assured that they have pivoted from other work they were doing for us to perform this work.
Right. I think we just need to stress the urgency of this, and just really get an answer as soon as possible from them. It's detrimental.
Like I say, I agree that, and if they can't do it really quickly, then we need to see how quickly someone else can do it.
Mhm.
That's my view.
I'm all set, thank you.
I think
I'm good.
Thank you.
There's a
Lee.
hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair. Councilwoman.
Is it possible to go back and get the notes or the details, that are available about what was discussed, what was agreed upon, what was done.
Like I said, I can ask the IT folks to see if they can get Mr. Jackson's predecessor's emails to see if there's an email train with Milliman on this specific subject.
You don't take minutes for meetings or anything like that?
I have never had an official meeting with Milliman. All I do is, there's one individual who I would call to see if there was an update. And the Labor Council, Mr. Hodgson, has also assisted in that and called them. But we never had any official meetings like
So this to
this
me
could
could be the complete and total reason why nothing's done. Because it doesn't seem like there was ever, from what you're saying, and you're, like, you've been here, right? You've been involved in this, right?
No, initially, it was, Mr. Jackson's predecessor and the mayor. Lee, I'm sorry, I shouldn't address you as
I
he.
know, I'm
No.
sorry, and I'm saying,
All,
yeah.
all I can tell
Attorney
you is
Tannen
that
was brought
they,
in
they did,
after.
yeah, they did work that they claim pulled them away from this work, and they are back on this work to do the pension study. And yes, you're right, it's been a long time. Now, when they were exactly engaged to do this work, I don't know exactly. But like I say, all I can do is I could see if the IT guys can pull that information.
And the only reason why I'm asking is to know where it left off, like what was done so far, which to me sounds like like nothing, right? Nothing was done. And even if it was done, it's so old now that it would need to be done over, right? So I just feel like if we're gonna do that, I think something formal needs to be arranged, and it needs to be thoroughly documented every step of the way moving forward. So we don't have this conversation a year or two from now about what was agreed on or what was discussed. Like, I
Okay.
can't believe there's no minutes to something so important, a meeting that was like so important, or a discussion that was so important. Seems like there should be notes or something.
Okay, again, I didn't engage them for this
Well, I'm
project,
not-
so I can't
I'm
help you
not-
there.
Yeah, I'm just making a statement. To me, that's how you do business. It doesn't matter who was there, so you should be able to go back and find that, even for yourself. You know, I'm not trying to say it's you or your fault. I'm just saying in general, we should do business better than that, is my point.
There could be minutes and notes, I don't know. All I can do is check.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, I appreciate you. Your finance committee is closed at 10 of 10.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Chairman.
Unfinished business. Jermaine didn't wanna come tonight. I'll wait until he hires somebody. Committee reports. Clerk will read the communication A.
I have something that's unfinished.
What's that?
I'm curious about this recording, how we're running our recording right now, because I really didn't get a full explanation, and I did talk to a couple of council members about it, and because we aren't really doing anything with the investigative committee, I'm wondering, can't we take some of that money and use it for the live streaming?
We don't have the money.
I'm saying, can't we take some of the money from
We don't have it.
from our line item investigative committee, the attorney for it, and use it for the live streaming.
I got a transfer with the mayor right now, and the mayor has not signed it yet. And Mr. Jackson knows about it, and that's it. But as far as the live streaming goes, that was instituted during COVID. And I was told COVID was ended, and we could either keep it or eliminate it. So, under discussion, most of the people here said that we don't have to do live streaming because it goes on tomorrow's agenda on the website. So I'm saving $300 a month, which we have a very small budget, and that other money is for another council that we did. I can't remember what we did it for. We put it aside for something to protect us against the MARB if the MARB comes after us. We're supposed to put that money aside.
Okay.
So that's what we saved that money for, I think.
I just don't remember remember that conversation, having that conversation. What, did you have it when I was not
We
present?
did it we did it, I think, when we did the budget, if I'm not mistaken. The 15 grand.
Does anybody remember that?
I don't, the 15 grand, what is that 15 grand allocated for? Do you know what Councilwoman, Crothwaite is referring to? We have a line item.
It's not off the
I
top of
don't
my
have
head, I don't have my,
25.
wait, I might have a budget.
Legal fee, wasn't it?
So, I think, y-
25,000.
so, has the IT, can I, partner with the councilwoman? Has the IT department hired the third person that Jermaine needed to be able to start wiring the rooms? I mean, has that vacancy been filled yet?
An offer was made and was declined. So he's back to the drawing board.
You. Okay. So let's think about this. So, Jermaine can't outfit, doesn't have the bandwidth to outfit or do what these rooms need. This room, Harriet North,
In the conference room.
and the conference room, until he hires this position. This position has been available to be filled since July 1st. 3 months and 11 days, we just made an offer for a position that we were begged to have it. Took 3 months and 11 days, and we've been turned down, and now we're posting it again. And we're still, maybe Public Works can do it. Can ARPA money, but I don't even, I mean, is there somebody else that can outfit these rooms? Like, I just don't understand. Sure what? Sure, like, are you be, like,
No, I mean, I don't know why particularly we have to wait for another employee to come who may not have the skill set, and by the time they're onboarded, you know, I
so
don't know.
can we make a motion to put this out for bid to get somebody to come in and do it for us?
If I may
Oh, you may.
offer a suggestion.
If this is gonna take time away from you doing the police thing, I don't want you to
No, no,
offer
no.
to do anything.
Although I did work at Radio Shack for a while. It wouldn't really be a good faith bid to put it out without it having money behind it. Now, you do have ARPA money, so what I might recommend is I'll talk to Ken about seeing if we can put our heads together with Jermaine and come up with a general cost of what this
We
might
have
be.
money, cause that position that we funded in his department, he's clearly not able to fund it, so we have 3 months of salary.
Yes, we do.
With-
Yes, we do. But
I can find you money, like,
yeah, the project is going to be more than that.
but we have money for that. That money
Yes,
is.
but we should put the money in place as a budgeted item, possibly on the ARPA side,
It is.
and run it as a project, and then do it right the first time. As
The
my old
money
man used to
for
say.
this is in this year's project, I mean, this
Well,
year's
there's
budget.
building. There are building maintenance lines in the ARPA budget, but I'm not sure how much.
No, I don't think, we're not talking about the same thing, Mr. Jackson. I'm talking about in the city's budget. We made money, I'm sorry, it's late and tell me again?
Reserved.
We reserved money in this year's budget to outfit these rooms. There's a
10 grand.
line item,
10 grand.
no, more than that. More than that, you will find a line item that is for wiring of these rooms to go live.
Could be capital non-recurring or something, I don't know, I don't have that.
I can
I
we
will-
can look for it another
I
time.
will find it.
But I just need us to, like, it is important for transparency's sake. I understand what the councilman is saying, and I'm gonna say this. we want it to be live streamed, we want people to be transparent, like, we want all of that. But what we also, me personally, do not wanna hear, oh, look, the city council's budget is over. They went over 10 grand or 5 grand. Oh, look at the finance chair, doesn't know what she's doing again, look, she's dead, that's what's gonna be said. Because people don't realize we don't have money in our budget for it. The mayor is no longer paying for it. She said the city council, is going to have to pay for the gentleman. We don't have funds for it. So we're already trying to figure out where we're going to get that money. So, yes, we want it to be live streamed. So you're saying, take it from the attorney, up until they say, oh, look, they didn't fund the attorney, and now we need the attorney again. So I know I hear what you're saying, and but we may use it. We may, so are we gonna be okay with, we take 10 grand, we start live streaming it, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. I will always try to bring both sides of it, but are we gonna say, at the end, well, now we only have 15 grand to pay the attorney. Oh, look, the council doesn't want the investigation to happen. They're not properly funding it. Look, they're trying to, like, there's all this, it's a domino effect. I don't know what the right answer is. I'm just saying that there is no money to pay for what is happening now. Our budget, the city council's budget, is going to be
Minus.
in the red. Know that it wasn't funded. We assumed that it was going to be paid for how it had been paid for the last 2 years. And then all of a sudden it was, here, city council, pay your invoices. So I hear, it's only $300, but maybe it's not. If he's here every special meeting, it is not just $300. Come budget time, it's $150 every night he's here. And we can vote to do it. I'm not for it. I'm not against it. I am literally saying, know that when it happens, that's what it is, And a decision needs to be made. And if you want to take money from the attorneys, that line item, great, we found money. But know that that money's not there if we need it later to do the investigation. That's all I'm saying.
It's just literally embarrassing that we have a resident here taping us. I'm fine with it, but I just think it's an embarrassment to us and to the city of West Haven.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that we have to find the money and pay for it. Because we didn't put it in the budget, because we didn't know we needed to. And when I say we, I mean all of us. Nobody said, hey, how are we paying for it? Nobody asked, because I think we all thought it was gonna be paid for how it had been paid for the 2 years prior. That's all I'm saying. And we don't have a P card.
I just think it's an insult to him, like, all this professional equipment that he has, I mean, that cost him a lot of money. And to not be able to use him at that full potential is an insult to him.
So how do you wanna pay him, Councilman? What's your solution?
I'll be the
Because you're
first to go
saying
and
that,
give
but.
my monthly checks to him. I don't care. I'll give I don't need that, city council money. I'll take that city council every month. I'll give it to him. I don't care. I don't need that. I'll give it to him. Well, if somebody else is willing to do it, then there goes his $300. I don't care. I don't need it. You want it? Anybody else want to join it with me? I'll do it.
I would do it, but I've already promised my money to Wendy's Wish.
Oh. I'm just saying, like, this guy's a professional. He is.
Councilwoman.
It's not funny. It is. He's a professional.
No one's laughing. I'm not
No,
laughing. I
she
know
was
he's a
laughing.
professional.
She's a professional.
Who's she? If you're
You, Councilman, you
I didn't,
smiled,
what was
so I
I
said
laughing at?
he's
I
professional.
smiled at her to tell her she can go.
It's getting late. Can
So,
I just,
a smile is not a laugh.
First place, excuse me, let me finish this off. First place, They never had this, they only had tape recorded before our time. Every council meeting, they didn't have video cameras. When COVID started, the governor said every city has to live stream because nobody could come to meetings. My question to the mayor was, who's paying for it? I never got an answer. So I turned around and says, well, send the bill to the governor. She laughed. So now, out of respect of Andrew, he is here taping the meetings. When COVID ended, to save us money, because we were running out of money, according to our secretary and according to Stacy, we got to cut it down. So I cut the live streaming down. Okay, to save us $300 a month. If he stays any later, it's extra money. Okay. So my budget right now is at zero. Mr. Jackson knows I got a transfer in there. The mayor's got to sign it. I haven't seen it signed yet.
Mr. Chairman, I did speak to her this morning, and she indicated that she would sign it.
Thank you. So that's where we're getting the money, I guess, from her office. So right now, we can't afford it. We paid money, and we gave money to Jermaine to hire somebody to do this installation, which I thought he could do the installation, which I'm not sure about. But he's supposed to do the installation, and it's like Councilman Hosky said 3.5 months ago. And we got an answer 2 meetings ago that he's not going to do it until he hires somebody. I said, let's go outside and hire somebody. And everybody looked at me funny. My personal opinion, I will put it out the bid, hire somebody and get it done and get it over with. Just like everything else around here, we drag. And who gets the fault of it? We do. And that's all I'm going to say about it. And case closed. Case closed.
I just want to say just one thing, because I don't mean to correct you, but I never said that we had to cut it short. We're still waiting for the transfer from Mr. Jackson that the mayor wouldn't sign, and the money was to pay for, I believe it was Andrew's, one of his last bills, and it's coming out of the attorney's money.
That is my recollection.
Okay. I just wanted to set the record straight. If we don't have to approve it because it was only under 1,500.
That's correct.
And we didn't get it yet. So I wanted to set the record straight because I didn't have anything to do with it other than pointing out the fact that we are out of money in that account. The admin should be watching that account, and she didn't know what to do, and that's when we filled out the forms, and they haven't been approved yet. That's correct, right?
That's a fair timeline, yes.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to set the record straight.
Yeah, I just was gonna ask why the person turned the position down. Is there something that needs to be done to make the position more attractive?
Yes, the person demanded a salary that approaches that of the police chief.
That what?
The person asked for a salary that approaches what we pay our police chief.
Don't we post that in the job description, what the range is of the starting salary?
I don't know. I don't know.
That would be a good idea.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, most
Absolutely.
job,
I mean, a lot of times you don't see the nowadays it seems you don't see the salary posted, although there may be a range. You know, sometimes it's shared depending on, you know, the organization. However, that should be a conversation that's like had early in the process, and not 3 months in and an offer is, you know, like it just seems like that's a huge waste of everybody's
with
time.
a little bit of due diligence, all you have to do is look at the budget. If you know the way a municipality works, you can go right to the budget and say, this is what this job pays.
I mean, yes, but if you're going to interview somebody, if you're going to go through the trouble of posting a position and interviewing somebody, and it's something that you needed filled, why wouldn't you just go straight to the conversation and say, this is what this salary is, and give them an opportunity to turn it down if they're not interested. I just think we just are playing too many. This is too much. We're playing too many games here. Like if you really want that position filled, you got to cut to the chase and be honest and transparent. Yeah, maybe I know, and I know. I'm not gonna stick Andrew out again, but maybe.
Can you
know,
do
maybe,
that job? Is that what we're?
That's what
wondering?
we're talking about. I'm just saying.
Mr. Jackson, could you check our budget? I got it home too. I'm gonna check it and see how much money we put aside to put the cameras in. And then I'll ask Rich Fryer if we could put it out to bid.
I will do that. I'll have to consult some of the original materials, because if it's put into unallocated contingency as a reserved item, I just like to find it so I know exactly what I'm working with.
You can email me and just let me know.
Will do.
Thank you. All right, committee reports.
Finance doesn't have anything.
Well, I have a communication A. We have communication A
Oh,
from the
my
tax
sorry.
collector regarding overpayment refund for September 2022, which will be filed with tonight's minutes.
Thank you, Stacy. Finance committee doesn't have anything. Public lands. Yeah, right, the date.
Time and everything?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You just
Really?
say that you're scheduled it, and then
Yeah.
the chairman will say that that's what we're scheduling.
Right, but I gotta go through the whole thing again, right?
No.
Since it's been a while, no? Okay.
No.
So, in regards to communication G, we are holding that, from the August 22nd, 2022. We're holding that in committee until we get all the information on that. And with communication B, we're holding that, but we're requesting a public hearing on October 24th, I believe, at
6:50.
6:50.
At 6:50.
PM. And that's all I have on the Public Lands Committee.
Thank you, Gary. Adoption of ordinances as previously presented, none. Council liaison reports, none. New business?
I have a question. I noticed tonight that, Mr. Chairman, you were letting people talk beyond the 3 minutes and you weren't timing them. Are we gonna stick to that, or are we gonna go back to 3 minutes? How are we gonna work this? Because
It's gonna be 3 minutes.
It's gonna be 3 minutes. Okay, so I wanna just share that, I know a lot of you know that I wasn't here, I guess, 2 meetings ago because I was sick. And I wrote up this whole big, long, letter. I timed it. I could not get it read in 3 minutes, even though I knew that Stacy was gonna read it and she talks a lot faster than I do. So I had to cut what I wanted to say in half in the interest of time, right? So, I feel like we all have gotten a lot of complaints about the time, all of us. I know all of you have gotten complaints, we get it here. I don't feel like 3 minutes is enough time. I know that you're lenient, but I feel like it should be, I mean, I'm a slow reader, so if I had read that letter myself, just like a normal resident, it would take me 5 minutes, 6 minutes. So I don't really feel that 3 minutes is enough time. I don't know how I know how some council members feel, but, you know, I'm supposed to be here representing my constituents, and I just feel like I'm not doing that if I'm not speaking up and saying 3 minutes is just not enough time.
I understand what you're saying, but I've checked other towns, our surrounding towns. Some are just 2 minutes, some are 3 minutes. And if somebody gets up at the podium and repeats himself what somebody else said, he makes them sit down, the chairman.
Right.
Don't even let him talk. So many times I get repetition, the same people asking the same questions.
Yep.
And we're here longer than we are supposed to be sometimes. So, if you want to change it to 5 minutes, I'll take a roll call vote. and we'll take a vote on it right now.
I would like
If
to
you
do
wanna do
that.
that.
Shall I make a motion?
We need a motion
We need a
first.
motion for it.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
so I have a question. Are we making a motion to amend the rules of the city council? Or what are we doing here?
Yeah, we
Can't have discussion until you make the motion.
Okay, so,
I can take it back afterwards.
no, I just wanna know how's the motion gonna read?
We have 5 minutes speaking.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the city council rules to allow residents 5 minutes, speaking time during public session.
Victor seconded.
And Victor, Boras seconded?
Mhm.
Okay.
Any discussion? Councilman Quaglione?
I think if I remember, the council rules state that if we change the council rules, you have to like wait 2 meetings to do it. I'm not quite sure if you have to have a hearing on the change, a public hearing, the next meeting, and then you vote on it the following meeting, but I think our rules say that if we're changing the rules, I think it's 2 meetings. So I guess my only point is that if you take a vote that you're changing it to 5 minutes, I would refer to the rules because I'm not quite sure if you need a public hearing, but I think you have to wait 2 meetings.
No, you don't have to have a public hearing.
No. So, my only point is if we pass it tonight, it wouldn't be effective next meeting, it'd be effective the following meeting, I believe.
Right, that's what I get when I change it to 3 meetings. 2 meetings. So you wanna take a vote on it and it'll go institute it to, not the next meeting, the first November meeting. Everybody go with that?
Be November 14th.
4th?
It's November 14th.
14th?
That's the second meeting there's the 24th and then the 14th.
I think that's, check with the rules,
Yeah,
right?
I
In
don't have
between,
that.
Holiday
I
on the
think it's
7th?
2 meetings.
Oh, no, you're right, it is 14. Sorry. It's only 2 weeks, you're right.
Yeah.
You take a vote?
Do you wanna do
Roll
a
call
roll
vote?
call? Councilman Gary Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman she's absent, sorry. Councilman Ronald Quagliani?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mally Garthwaite?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sarah Akbarali?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robin Watt Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kathy Tucker?
Yes.
Councilman Victor Boras?
Yes.
Councilman Robert Bruno?
Yes.
Councilwoman's absent. And Chairman Peter Mazzaro?
Yes. It'll go into effect November 14th. Motion?
Motion to